Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday Night Fights edition. Dominic, welcome back to the show, man. Doing it live in Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Crudy in the same room again. Great to be with you. Evan on the board. Our fair audience, happy Friday. We've made it.
We got Calvin here as well, man. We're pulling double duty. Appreciate it, gentlemen. 844-967-2789. Don't forget, on Friday, we air the grievances. You can give us yours. But today, this fair day, when we've got some fine guests, and we should point out, we've got extended coverage all the way up to the gubernatorial debate at 7 o'clock. We're going to broadcast it live right here on Civic Media. Hey, man, turn it off.
That's not me, dude. That's you. Come on, you rookie.
Right here on Civic Media, broadcasting the gubernatorial, the singular brawl to beat all brawls. Tony Evers versus Tim Michaels, your guy.
The guy that yells a lot. There's going to be a lot of yelling. There's going to be a lot of yelling today.
He's a loud talk.
I'm actually, again, looking forward to this. I thought it was a great debate yesterday. We'll obviously get to that. Tony Evers, Tim Michaels. I cannot wait to see the contradictions between these men in all sorts of different ways.
Well, the audience can't wait for extended special coverage of the Devil's Advocates, taking you all the way to the gubernatorial debate at 7. And in deference to, this very special show, Dom, we got nothing but the highest quality guest. We've got Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, our good friend Maggie Daun, live in the Shaw Studios.
Yeah.
Happy hour.
5 o'clock, Maggie's coming in.
And of course, we're going to recap with Charleston pollster Charles Franklin, MU Marquette University Law School poll, in the extended coverage, the pre-debate coverage. He'll join us after 6, Tom. And I would wonder, do the debates ever change the outcome of the election? Because last night, could that debate, the second and final senatorial debate between your boy Ron Johnson and my guy Mandela Barnes, could that have been a game changer?
It could have been. It could take enough independence off the board for Ron Johnson. I mean, Ron Johnson came off looking so terrible and an embarrassment. And in many ways, again, Ron just being Ron.
Or as his campaign would describe it, a glorious victory. He obliterated. They said he obliterated Mandela.
Is that what it was?
Either him or the Republicans.
Oh, my
claim.
goodness.
Dom, one of the claims that RoJo made last night, the FBI set me up. There is some coverage of this, and I noted almost immediately, I mean, it was a matter of a couple of hours tops. The Mandela Barnes campaign was merchandising T-shirts last night. The FBI set me up. And then, of course, attributing the quote to Ron Johnson on the debate stage. And this was, we've seen the conspiratorial Ron Johnson. We've interviewed the man many, many times. I mean, hell, you guys have matching tinfoil hats.
He admitted it.
But Ron Johnson, this story, and, the Journal Sentinel trying to give a little context today. Good luck with that. But let's give a little context, and then I believe we've got a little bit of recap sound of the big debate from last night during Wisconsin's final Senate debate Thursday night. And we watched it together, Tom.
We did, yeah. Working hard this week, Curdy.
Live streamed a little bit. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson made a comment that surprised many in attendance. The FBI set me up with a corrupt briefing and then leaked that to smear me, the Vegas Republicans said. The remark according to the reporting here, Dom, drew laughs from some of the crowd as Johnson explained he had been trying to uncover and expose alleged corruption within the FBI.
Ron Johnson is on the case, man. New information has come to light, man. I mean, Bunny Lebowski, she kidnapped herself.
Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who's trailing Johnson, depending on whose polling you believe, with less than a month until Election Day, quickly made T-shirts of Johnson's quote in an attempt to raise campaign cash. Johnson's comments came after Barnes claimed Johnson, and here was the quote, Tom.
Love this quote. I thought this was a jab.
Johnson had to be sat down by the FBI and warned that he may be a Russian asset. I prefer the term dupe. We cannot trust Senator Johnson to protect democracy abroad because we can't even trust Senator Johnson to protect democracy here at home.
Oh, how true is that?
So RoJo was sat down by the FBI in August of 2020, months before the election, and was warned, right? You're spreading misinformation that mirrors the misinformation being spread by the Russian, the troll farm.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the same thing. So almost like you got the memo. We actually have the sound of this, Evan.
Oh, let's play this.
Let's do this.
Let's revel and remember and recap. Just see if we can recapture the moment.
Let's relive the embarrassment that is Senator Ron Johnson. The FBI set him up, and of course, he's on the case. Let's hear cut 15, please, Evan.
There was also an instance where Senator Johnson had to be sat down by the FBI and warned that he may be a Russian asset. We cannot trust Senator Johnson to protect democracy abroad because we can't even trust Senator Johnson to protect democracy here at home.
Mr. Johnson, you do have a chance on a rebuttal for that, and then we'll also...
The FBI set me up with a corrupt briefing and then leaked that to smear me. I am...
I'm sorry. All right.
He is referring to corruption with the FBI, which I've been trying to uncover and expose.
All right. You go first. What do you figure find admirable about your opponent?
About a 7.5 tinfoil hat. Do you think,
oh, wow, man. I mean, just comes off as, obviously disconnected. I don't know, conspiratorial, perhaps a tad paranoid, and certainly unqualified for a third.
Well,
term.
here, just, in deference to fairness to your buddy, Senator Ron Johnson, conspiracist, I would like to continue with the reporting here from the Journal Sentinel. U.S. intelligence agencies determined Russia intervened in the 2016 election and that Russia tried to blame the election interference on Ukraine. And Dom, I would point out, remember when the Obama administration approached Mitch McConnell and the Republican leadership team before the election back in 2016 and wanted to warn the American people of the disinformation campaign going on by the Russians?
Yes, at the time.
And Ron Johnson, who was amongst due to his chairmanship of the committee, the Homeland Security Governmental Affairs Committee, Ron Johnson was in, I think it was like the Band of Eight or whatever they call it, the highest foreign policy leadership. And Ron and McConnell declined to stand with the Obama administration and issue that warning to the American people. Because, they thought it might, favor the Democrats? So anyways, here's how Ron tries to splate it away, Dom. I asked the briefers what specific evidence, talking about the FBI briefers, what specific evidence they had regarding this warning, and they could not provide me anything other than the generalized warning. Maybe due to your prior visit to Russia on the 4th of July, 2018, Ron, maybe they knew more, but they weren't at liberty to disclose it to you as a, potentially compromised asset. Let me read on. Johnson told the Post last year about the FBI briefing without specific information. I felt the briefing was completely useless and unnecessary since I was fully aware of the dangers of Russian disinformation. How I was spreading it.
Crudy also.
Crudy's editorialization.
Johnson made a much criticized trip to Russia. You referenced it. Let's talk about it. He was criticized by opponents for a 2018 trip to Russia with other congressional Republicans in which he spent the 4th of July holiday in the country. Johnson at the time said senators brought up, quote unquote, Russia's meddling in the election and called Russia an adversary. But he also indicated there should be dialogue between the two nations. This is an important relationship, Johnson said that month. Russia is not going away. In 2019, Johnson said Russia denied him a visa to enter the country with other members of Congress.
Denied him a visa? I find that hard to believe, Tom.
So yes, Russian Ron Johnson, the FBI, man, they set him up, Crudy. It's a big setup.
And in a true, everybody's doing it sort of, both sides do it. I mean, false equivalency, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Here at the end of the Journal Sentinel coverage, they say, and Mandela Barnes also faces Russia criticism.
Oh, really?
Did he meet with the FBI? Did he go to Russia on the 4th of July?
2018? No, I don't believe he did.
No, he's alleged in a new Dan Bice column to have done 3 interviews, Dom, with Russian-supported media outlets, RT, Russia Today. But
I'm sorry, 6 interviews.
6, my bad.
Yes.
Over the course of a couple of years, like 6 years ago. Now, I would point out, guys like Tom Hartman were on that station. People like Ed Schultz were on that station. I mean, once upon a time, Ron Johnson thought it was just fine to go hang out on the 4th of July in Russia. Why would Mandela Barnes, before the invasion of Ukraine, before the misinformation of the 2016 election, why would Mandela Barnes be refusing interview requests from RT? I mean, really, how is that a story? That is a false equivalence.
Well, it's Russia. See, it's Russia. It's RT. It's Russia Today, right? And it has the word Russia in it. Ron Johnson, went to Russia, was
disseminated Russian misinformation.
Propaganda. Yes, he also has Russia in it. See, Russia and Russia.
Failed to warn the American people about the Russian disinformation campaign.
Didn't just fail to, purposefully made the decision not to.
Well, they didn't want to be too bipartisan before an election. Might look bad. So that's where we start today, Dom. Senator Ron Johnson. He's been on the show 25, 26 times.
Man, I mean, who you ever been set up by the FBI, man?
I feel like, I've been entrapped a couple of times.
Yeah, I think I got some weed planted on me one time. I don't know, man. Maybe Governor Evers will give some pardons up for that.
I'm not clear if he will, Dom. There has been some conversation about pardons on the state crime level. I haven't seen that Evers is a willing, person to pardon your ass. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. It's a Friday night fight edition. It's Friday. Stick around.
What had happened was,
Didn't do it. Lawyer me.
You believe that story? You believe that?
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates radio show.
Hey, Joe.
What do you got for us today?
In reference to Lindsey Graham, I was amazed at his comments where he said if Trump is indicted, there will be riots in the streets. Lindsey Graham was a JAG officer, and in order to be a JAG officer, you have to pass the bar. Was a JAG
I'm sorry, he's a JAG-off officer? I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah, to see a lawyer head for the rat hole instead of acting like a person with a backbone. Wow, what a profile and courage, huh?
Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 4:20 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's Friday. We air grievances. Yours are always welcome at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we spent last night virtually watching the U.S. senatorial debate between your boy RoJo and, my preferred candidate, Mandela.
Oh, come on. He's also my preferred candidate. But yes, please continue.
This debate came off as fairly contentious, I would say.
Yes.
It is the last anticipated debate. Pardon me. And I think how it sort of closed sort of was my takeaway. It wasn't just
epitomizes how the whole thing went.
Yes. Yeah. Given the opportunity to say something nice about one's opponent. And I've seen this during a couple of debates, Tom, and they, played this little game last night as well. And it was one of the takeaways above and beyond the FBI set me up claims of RoJo, right, just so they could smear him. It was this opportunity lost, let's just say, for RoJo to show himself not to be a jackass. So he didn't take the opportunity to.
I think he wanted to. He tried to, just couldn't. Didn't have it in him.
Too much disdain for his opponent.
Disdain for all the voters of Wisconsin.
Now, there were not many opportunities lost by Mandela Barnes to take a little pick at Ron Johnson. I would point out what he say. Ron kept saying effectively Mandela never had a job. And Mandela kept saying in retort, yeah, well, you just married well.
Business and law.
Not the sort of country club cordial.
No.
Expect in these sort of venues.
It seems totally appropriate. And, for Ron Johnson to come out and say, he's never, never signed the front of a paycheck, only the back of a paycheck. And I just, I thought about this afterwards, and it really, really pisses me off. Is Ron Johnson ever, framed out a house? You know what I'm saying? Ever, drove a tractor and cut down the crops? I mean, if you don't do something, does that mean you're not able to represent or empathize or understand situations of those people who have done the work? I find it totally disheartening that somehow, some way, there's a lot of folks that sign, checks that don't cash. You know what I'm saying? Lots of startups start.
Oh, who I know.
And lots of businesses fail. So just because, and companies come and companies go. So if you're in the position, I've been in the position to have the responsibility to sign the front of a paycheck, there is responsibility to that. But let me tell you something about the other side of that. A lot of people don't want the hassle. They want to get up and go to their job and leave it when it's done. And they expect that
work-life balance?
Yes, the work-life balance. And they expect that when promises are made, promises are kept, be it Social Security or Medicare, right? And this goes back to the disdain that I believe as guys like Ron Johnson and Republicans constantly propping up, you're signing the front of the check. Well, they're the first ones to say, well, we can't have, we got to cut Social Security. We got to do something about the budget. We got to do something about the deficit. Those are the first ones saying that. The first ones to say, well, we're going to change the circumstances. We're going to change the deal. And that's what some people, I think, have a big problem with. I think Mandela Barnes is rightfully trying to hone into that frequency.
What about the statement that Mandela made? And effectively, Ron Johnson claims he comes from humble roots, working class roots. And Mandela said, yeah, but what you did is effectively you caught a lucky break, married well, and then pulled up the ladder behind you, Ron. Effectively, you don't want for others the benefit of what you got for yourself. And of course, there are more opportunities. Not everyone's presented an equal opportunity under this American dream, Dom, but presented with the opportunity to be cordial and close the debate on a high note. Your buddy Ron had this to say, gonna need your help here. E-Bone, play it for the people if you would. Cut number 16. Just say one thing nice about your opponent.
Mr. Barnes, you go first. What do you find admirable about your opponent?
Well, no, seriously. I do think, the senator has proven to be a family man, and I think that's admirable. That's absolutely to be respected. He speaks about his family. He's done a lot to provide for them. I absolutely respect that.
Mr. Johnson.
Likewise, I appreciate the fact that Lieutenant Governor Barnes had loving parents, a school teacher, father worked third shift, so he had good upbringing. I guess what puzzles me about that is with that upbringing, why is he turned against America? I mean, why does he find finding America awful?
We did not.
We said something admirable.
The way the question was framed was about tamping down the temperature, the political rhetoric. So let's say something nice about your opponent. My opponent hates America, despite his healthy, American upbringing.
Well, and
what's wrong with him?
Well, what's wrong with him? Not only does he insult Mandela Barnes at the end of a question where he's supposed to compliment or name something that you admire about him, he also says, "Yeah, me too." I mean, Mandela's like, he's a family guy. He takes care of his family, provided for him. And Ron Johnson's ditto. Ditto. And why do you hate America? I mean, it's just it epitomized exactly, the differences between these two individuals on such a granular level. There's no question. I don't think there's any question whatsoever. If you're a Ron guy, I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you recall what Ron Johnson inserted in the family trust for the kids? One illegitimate child acceptable under Ron's trust terms.
Oh, right.
But the second illegitimate child, presumably that's Ron's grandchild under any circumstance, right?
Regardless of how you slice it.
Cuts him off from the family trust. Because the first one's family, but the second one, no, don't need a spare. First one's free, no spares allowed. So anyways, that's how Ron treats his family. Don't cross them or you'll cut your ass off.
844-967-2789. We're going to take some of your calls. We're going to play some more of us. Again, the differences between Mandela Barnes and Ron Johnson, where they come from. They talked about jets. They talked about the accomplishments of Ron Johnson. We'll get to that. We have some sound. Come back with us. Oh, go ahead, Curdy.
Well, I was going to say Tony Evers has a big debate tonight. I got a little email missive from his campaign.
All right.
And since the expansion of Civic Media, I think they've got me in a new solicitation category.
Ooh.
Donate $675 now, up to $1,980 now, or another amount.
You got something lower?
I was thinking, I gave St. Jude $1 today at the gas station. I could probably do the same for you, Evers. Come back, more Devil's Advocates, the Friday edition. It's a Friday night fight, debate style.
Here's how you get them. If they bring a beer, you bring an old-fashioned. If they bring cheese curds, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way. That's Devil Radio.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court. But did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites. Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion too. A champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. I want you to make sure you're registered to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
I think I know why.
They're worried about our power.
So they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
So please register to vote and get out to vote. Just go to myvote.wi.gov.
myvote.wi.gov.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. That's how you can be a champion too.
Just go to myvote.wi.gov to register to vote. Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. A woman walking her dog, another on her porch having a chat with a neighbor, a police officer on his way to work. 3 of the 5 people killed in a mass shooting yesterday evening in a middle-class neighborhood in Raleigh, North Carolina. 2 other people were wounded. A 15-year-old in custody and facing charges is in critical condition. Governor Roy Cooper.
No neighborhood, no parent, no child, no grandparent. No one should feel this fear in their communities. No one.
Another losing week for stocks. Traders continue to be nervous about inflation. Markets dropping today. A government report shows the pace of retail sales was unchanged in September from August, as rising prices for rent and food chipped away at money available for other things. The Dow fell 403. The S&P gave back more than 2%, an 86-point loss, and the NASDAQ tumbled 341. I'm Tim McGuire.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn the best price from up to 10 price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-890-6688. That's 800-890-6688. 800-890-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Metner with your headlines. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol says Wisconsin GOP Assembly Speaker Robin Vos should testify about his conversations with the former president since the insurrection. Vos was subpoenaed in September after 2 weeks of failed negotiations for his voluntary testimony. Now, Vos is asking a federal judge to throw out the committee's subpoena. In a new filing, attorneys in the U.S. House's Office of General Counsel says, quote, it's difficult to imagine a congressional investigation of greater national and constitutional significance, unquote. Both parties set to meet in federal court later this month. On Thursday, the committee unanimously voted to subpoena Donald Trump during a hearing where they gave evidence showing the former president incited the assault on the U.S. Capitol even while knowing he had lost the 2020 election. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN, 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Yes, you know it's true.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We got some fine guests coming later in this extended coverage show, all the way up until the Wisconsin gubernatorial debate at 7, being broadcast live right here on Civic Media, courtesy of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association. We are fine members in good standing. They're reaching out to me. Now they want to have lunch with little old me.
You, little old Crudy.
You know, I had abandoned my membership, and they talked me into it before the summer thing. Like, come on, just renew your membership. I'm like,
surf and turf, man.
I'm thinking, man, now we're big shots, right? Getting bigger all the time here at Civic Media, but we will broadcast the live WBA debate, and I just tease Michelle Betterkind and the group over there, good partners to us. They're making this debate available. But Tom, last night's debate we had to watch on another lesser media outlet. Actually, we watched on C-SPAN.
I had the visual
live
on
streamed
C-SPAN.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Talked a little trash during the live debate. We'll see. We'll see later if we're going
I'm sure it was glorious.
Similar.
If you haven't heard it, go back and listen. I'm sure it was great.
If you found us on the Facebook page, we didn't start a new one, but drag her out to like hour 3.
I thought we were going to start
a listen.
Yeah,
I thought we did. I know someone at the home office screwed up.
Come on, I thought the kids were in charge of that stuff.
No, it's usually a boomer like me. 844-967-2789. Hold on tight, boomers. We got a little bit more sound to play.
Let's jump around a bit, talking about the moneyed interest in Ron Johnson. Let's go to cut number...
From the U.S. senatorial debates that you interrupt before I could set the entire...
Yes. Thank you.
Let's jump around.
Let's jump back into a jump around, if you would please, Evan. The private jets, cut number 12, the debate last night.
The senator should be so audacious. He fails to mention that taxpayers had to foot the bill for his private plane trips between D.C. and his $3 million mansion in Florida, the vacation home. The 2017 tax plan also gave tax benefits for people who make private plane purchases. Guess who bought a few private planes right after the 2017 tax bill was signed? Senator Johnson's family. We're paying for that. Working class families are footing the bill for millionaire lifestyles, and it needs to stop.
Mr. Johnson, you would have a chance. You also have a 60-second rebuttal if you want to use it.
So that is a total lie. I never was reimbursed for any private jet travel. What I was reimbursed for was actually approved by the Senate Rules and Ethics Committee when I submitted the expense. My children
made it through
accounting in Florida. My wife goes down there. I visit them a few weekends. I didn't charge for the plane trip down,
just
but
the one
it's
back.
Within Senate rules to charge for the plane trip back.
That explains everything, Ron. You didn't pay for the trip down.
Right.
You paid to get me back.
So it's only like partially true then. Yeah, I didn't stick it to the taxpayers as much as it may have been indicated. I only stick it to them a little bit. But what Ron Johnson did not push back on, he said, as Barnes framed the private jet comment, he said Ron Johnson's family, which would include what?
His children. Ron Johnson's children, it was reported one day ago, bought a new plane after the federal tax break that was part of the Ron Johnson Trump 2017 tax plan.
Huh. So it's almost like they stuck another one in for themselves.
Perhaps they did. And also, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson claims, well, I was only reimbursed for one-way travel back from the multi-million-dollar Florida house. But it was reported in the Journal Sentinel way back in 2020 before the election. Senator Ron Johnson has taken more than a dozen flights between Wisconsin and D.C. on a small jet owned by his adult children. So the private jet travel is from Wisconsin to D.C. And then he flew commercial back to Florida? See how I didn't use the family jet to fly to Florida. I flew commercial.
Well, how does that work out?
Probably.
I mean, on the private jet. I mean, obviously, there's still a cost to get the senator from Wisconsin to D.C. If the Senate rules allow for the expensing and reimbursement of travel from a location to D.C., like they do, as he claims, from Florida to D.C., although not the other way around, then you got to wonder, are Ron Johnson's children being reimbursed for Ron's travel from Wisconsin to D.C. on that private jet?
Well, it would only be fair to reimburse them.
Of course.
After all, the taxpayers reimburse the entire cost of the private jet as a tax write-off. Sort of a perk for our rich friends.
Yes, well, it's like
in the Ron Johnson shepherded 2017
it's like a subsidy almost.
It's like a perk.
Call it a perk. I will call it a perk. Let's hear some more. Cut number 13.
The jet only cost, Tom, $12 million.
Wow. See, I mean, what's $12 million between friends? And especially when you get reimbursed by the government for some of those, when you got a senator on board.
Well, the other part I would point out is that it's RoJo's son, Ben, and his wife, Jane, that are the managers of the company, Howard Air LLC, that actually owns the Pilatus PC-24, valued at about $12 million. Oh, by the way, Howard Air also bought a Pilatus PC-12 in 2019, more than a year after the Trump tax plan passed, and an Embracer EMB 501 Phenom 300 a year later. Under the Trump tax plan, Johnson's family members may be eligible to write off the cost of all three airplanes. Dom, they own a total of 3 single-pilot business jets. And here's a quote from the Democratic Party spokesperson, Phil Schumann. Ron Johnson has used his power in the Senate to enrich himself, his family, and his biggest donors, all the while voting against Wisconsinites' best interest and complaining about doubling his own wealth. No, Dom. Right after I give like $500,000 to the Democratic Party, as they're requesting apparently in their new solicitation, I was thinking about dropping $12 million on a new jet and getting that sweet, sweet tax break, man. Were you thinking about buying a $12 million jet this year?
No, I was looking at like an $18 million jet. I wanted, something a little bit bigger. The lifestyle. I need
you got to have one for each kid. So cumulatively, you probably got $35 million worth of jets.
So you think there's some difference in budgeting when you sit around the kitchen table and talk about these economic issues? You think Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes are working off the same spreadsheet?
Well, Dom, Johnson claims it's not fair to, tag him with the 3 jets. For instance, the second-term Republican senator and his wife have no financial stake in Howard Air. Why, they've transferred the financial stake to the Johnson Family Trust. It's managed by their son, Ben Johnson.
Oh, okay.
And run by their 3 adult children.
Oh, so it makes total sense then.
And Howard Air has never been listed on Johnson's annual financial disclosure form. Also, Johnson's campaign officials said the airplane tax break had no impact on Howard Air's decision to purchase any of its plane. Howard Air uses third-party financing to pay for the jet it purchased this summer and has leased the plane out to another company. So the $12 million tax break, we didn't even know that was going to be part of the deal Dad wrote into the tax codes. We didn't even know.
Bonus, baby.
They got 3 private jets in the family, Dom. Lieutenant Governor Barnes must be confused, according to Ben Vogel, a spokesperson for Johnson. It is Ron Johnson who's running to represent the Wisconsin in the Senate, not his son, Ben Johnson. Tell that to Biden's kid, Hunter, right? Right? Lieutenant Governor Barnes is a career politician who's relying on his dad's work ethic to fill the gaps in his own resume, as opposed to Ron, who's using the money from his father-in-law to fill the gaps in his less than 3 jet ownership.
I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go. I mean, Ron, man, good call, man. He got it. Let's hear a little bit more.
Wait.
All right, what?
Oh, you've got it, Ben Johnson's statement?
No, I do not. Go ahead.
Senator Johnson has been flying to Washington in a private plane for safety and logistical reasons during the pandemic. Pandemic?
What pandemic?
Just take a little ivermectin and get your ass back to Coach, RoJo.
Mouthwash it, baby. No problem.
A little bit more from Vogel from the Johnson campaign. Before the pandemic, Senator Johnson flew commercial, always attempting to capitalize on low fares, and has done so throughout his time in the Senate. He is a champ on Expedia, Dom.
Let's hear RoJo bouncing around cut number 14, if you would. Ron's only accomplishment, according to Barnes.
Look, the biggest achievement in business was Ron Johnson saying, I do. He married into his business. Boom! He didn't start that from the ground up.
All right. He's never signed the front of a paycheck. He doesn't have a clue how to create jobs. He certainly doesn't have a clue how the economy works and how you run a business. He doesn't.
Senator Johnson is taking a whole lot of credit for his business-in-law.
What about the crowd, Dom? It seemed quite partisan to me. And,
yes.
All credit to the Mandela Barnes campaign. It was open admission, no cost. So if you want to fill up the debate hall with your friends and followers, let's just say, then I think strategically when Ron Johnson says, the FBI set me up, and the entire crowd gasps and laughs at you, sir, I bet you wish you had a few of your, jet-owning kids in the audience.
Well, I think there were a few Ron supporters in there, but that was so organic. I mean, everyone was shocked. I couldn't believe what the FBI set you up, man. Really? This is how you're debating. This is how you prove to the rest of Wisconsin that you deserve to be their senator for a 3rd term by claiming the FBI set you up, you paranoid old man. I mean, you're going to talk about mental capacity. Aren't you a little concerned? I mean, is he poking around the corners? Is he, looking in his shower every night before he goes to bed? Open up the closet doors. The FBI's after him, man.
Well, ever since the trip to Russia, he's got legitimate reason to look in the shower. There could be bugs in there, Dom.
No record for RoJo. Evan, if you would please, cut number 13.
On to voters who question your record when it comes to police funding and reducing crime. Mr. Barnes.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm really glad you brought up the obscene amount of spending in this race. And then notice how you said that the money is being spent to defeat me. There's no commercials talking about Senator Johnson's record because he has nothing to run on. He hasn't done a single thing for us. He's had 12 years to show up for working Wisconsinites. He has refused to every single day.
Tax cuts. What about the private jet tax cuts?
I mean, that's something, right?
It is something.
Yes.
Only I never owned a private jet, Dom.
And I noticed it's not Ron Johnson bringing it up and running on that particular issue.
Private jet tax cuts.
Yeah. He's not saying that.
Considering his family trust owns 3 private jets that he flew to D.C. on in Oh, look at this. The Republicans honking at us down. They're driving around with a elephant in a cart here in beautiful Waukesha, Wisconsin. Doing a little shout out to our fair audience.
All right. Thank you for the love, Republicans. A little bit more here. They will get to the calls, or I promise, 844-967-2789.
You think with the gas prices being what they are, you think maybe they'd use a hybrid plug-in instead of like a corn,
pulling a trailer with an elephant on the back of it is not great for gas mileage. But these are Republicans; they got tons of money.
Maybe they should put that elephant on one of RoJo's private jets and pull him around town.
Let's hear cut number 10. $2 trillion. Not clear the reference here, but let's listen.
The wealthy pay into this vital program. Now, under my plan, a person making under $400,000 would not see an increase in taxes. And Senator Johnson is going to, again, continue to complain about the deficit, but had no problem adding $2 trillion to the deficit to appease his wealthy donors and himself.
Well, don't forget about the private jet tax cuts.
Of course.
I mean, that's money well spent. That's investment in private jets for rich buddies of Ron Johnson.
I mean, job creation,
the family trust,
right? You get the taxpayer subsidized write-off for your purchase, and you got to go and someone's got to make those jets. Crew, that's jobs.
It's tough being a U.S. senator, Dom. It's almost a 90-minute flight to D.C.
Let's hear about probably one of the most stark differences between these candidates, the abortion issue. Cut number 11, please, Evan.
Women don't get to make the best choices for their health. Rape victims don't get to make the best health care or don't get to make the choices for themselves. That's the unfortunate reality. I support us going back to Roe versus Wade. That was a law of the land that worked for 50 years. And Roe also allowed for some restrictions, but the reality is it has strong protections for the health and the life of the mother. And that's what we should be moving towards. Senator Johnson has sponsored 8 different national abortion bans. He sponsored abortion bans that had no exceptions for rape, incest, or the life of the mother. And that position is too out of touch and extreme for Wisconsin.
All right, and so we'll come back with your grievances. It's the Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates. 844-967-2798.
89.
Is it? Damn it.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the whoops. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Taking your kids to their first baseball game. Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
We've mentioned, inflation is going to be an issue. Let me ask you this. What would you like to see Donald Trump do if you were here? What did you suggest Biden do to address the inflationary pressures we're facing right now?
Well, I can't tell you that because that would be something you could counter and defeat Trump with, or the Republican Party. So tell you.
You think Trump's taking strategy from you on talk radio, Lou?
I mean, you're no Kid Rock, Lou.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit-flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice Hard Seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice Hard Seltzer.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feel like your emotions are all over the place? A healthy routine that includes enough sleep, exercise, and proper nutrition can help you feel more centered.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday. We air the grievances on Friday, and we're actually going to get to the phones right now at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we promised the trial of the century on Monday, and the DA has dismissed all charges against the glorious Devil's Advocates radio show and our friend Brian Kelly. So, Dom.
Vindicated again?
I think we need to set a glorious victory over the man party.
Yes, we absolutely do.
Hawk has texted.
As confirmed.
We will be partying our asses off. October 25th, we invite you to be a part. The Atomic Koi, one of Hawk's finer neighborhood bars. You know, the one out in Fitchburg.
I love that bar.
Right down the street from Heartless Radio. We'll shake a fist at him. Anyways, we're going to party a victory over the man. No trial coverage on Monday. They chickened out.
But our fine counsel, Jeff Scott Olson, will join us on Monday. We will discuss what happened, why the DA did what they did, why they keep coming after the Devil's Advocates, what we can do about the persecution.
You know why they came after us?
Why?
Because the Republicans pointed the cops at us. And you know why they
You know which Republican did?
Tim Rantham.
Yes, he did.
Ram Jam.
Ram Jam.
Oh, Black Betty. Here's what I would say. They dismissed the case because they realized we were going to the mattresses, baby. We got the best of counsel, Jeff Scott Olson. We had subpoenaed false Trump elector Andrew Hitt, the former chair of the Republican Party, and his counsel, Stephen Biskupik. I believe he was a former federal prosecutor in his own
that's his
regard.
counsel, yeah.
That he called JSO and said, here's all we're going to tell you is that we don't know who let us in the building.
You don't know who let him in the building.
I was inside a crowd and I didn't look around.
Come on, man, what?
I can't give any pertinent testimony. Please don't make us. That was really their plea. Please don't make us testify. And we were prepared to make him testify.
Damn it. But now the DA dropped the charges.
The DA dropped the charges, which is, I just wish there was a civil forfeiture action in this to make him pay a price.
This effort, the constant communications between you and I and our attorney and Fancy Brian discussing this and talking to it,
the angst, the anguish. It's been keeping me up nights.
I'm telling you, man, I continue to feel the pressure of this. The state coming down on us over and over.
Deep state.
How many times have we won now, Crudy?
That would make us 4-0.
We're 4-0 against the state of Wisconsin, huh? Against the man.
Utilizing both the state and federal courts.
Yes.
844.
That's winning, right?
Yeah, we are winners. Winners get to do what we want. 844-967. Like, throw a party.
Yeah, we're going to party. Yes, at the Atomic Koi in Fitchburg.
We'll do parties all around the state. I'm going on a tour. Pat from Wind Lake, a new caller. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Friday grievance for us?
I do. Thank you very much for taking my call. In regards to the debate last night, my grievance is that Mandela Barnes had an opportunity to really hit Ron Johnson. When Ron Johnson had laid out the referendum, or was talking about the referendum that he had submitted to the Wisconsin Assembly about how the abortion issue should be resolved, Mandela Barnes, I believe, could have said to him, "Who the hell do you think you are to tell a woman what to do with their body?"
Well,
I
Pat,
think that would have scored.
Well, that might have been the only opportunity Mandela did not or missed to sort of take a counterpunch. I mean, I thought he was very effective last night. I can't imagine anyone watching that debate through less than partisan goggles, looking at Ron Johnson's performance saying, that's my guy. Maybe I'm wrong.
I would tend to wholeheartedly agree to you that Mandela did a very, very good job on handling Ron Johnson.
Pat from Wind Lake, thanks for listening, man. 844-967-2789.
Jesse Apoyan at the Cap Times has a nice breakdown of the debate last night between Johnson and Barnes, and she writes this. Johnson said the issue, talking about abortion, should be addressed with a one-time single-issue referendum to decide at what point does society have the responsibility to protect life, balancing the rights of the mother with the rights of the unborn child. And as Jesse writes, there is currently no mechanism to hold such a referendum under Wisconsin law, and Republican legislators recently rejected an effort by Democratic Governor Tony Evers to create such a process. But yeah, let's have a referendum. That's my plan.
844-967-2789, and we could sprinkle it with, unicorn dust and rainbows. Mike from Cedarburg, welcome, sir.
Hi, Mike.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. What do you got?
I don't know why you're complaining about RoJo getting a PC-24 and a PC-12. Look at all the jobs you created for the people of Switzerland.
I take it those are not. They're not domestically manufactured here.
At least they're U.S. made. A Cessna or BeastJet, they're U.S. made. So he's got to go buy them out of Switzerland. Not saying they're beautiful aircraft, but a little overpriced for me.
Remember the Weedick contributions to that air company, that aviation company in northern Wisconsin? They were going to revolutionize, build aircraft in Wisconsin, or steal the taxpayers' money, as the case turned out to be. It's too bad they didn't take flight, if you will. They were more just soaking the taxpayers, weren't they?
No. If you're talking about Cirrus, they went bankrupt. But Cirrus is doing very well. The aircraft are made at airport in Duluth, which was an old Army Air Force base. But they're still making aircraft, very good aircraft. But my biggest complaint with you guys is, what do you got against Ron DeSantis?
What do I got against Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, Ron DeSantis is probably the best drag queen in New Orleans. I don't know.
I mean, those boots, man, Mike, he was wearing them proud.
Mike, you sound like a pilot. Let me ask you, do you ever participate in the EAA in Oshkosh, sir?
I've been there once or twice, not very often. I'm enthused by some of the unconventional aircraft.
Yeah.
And a PC-24 is not an unconventional, very good aircraft, but made in Switzerland. But
pricey, I hear.
Pardon?
They're pricey. You got to be rich or marry very well to be able to afford a plane like that. Mike, appreciate you listening and calling in from Cedarburg. I would just point out, if you find yourself in Oshkosh, we're offering the Oshkosh Air Support 98.3 and 1100 AM WISS. We are at the exit at the EAA. If you want to.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. That's a
right
very
downtown,
pronounced exit right there. Yeah.
That exit straight downtown, right on Main Street, right across from the new entertainment district. Felt like I did that for us.
Oh, nice. Well, we'll have to go and do a broadcast from there sometime soon.
I am anticipating doing the inaugural Osh Vegas broadcast from Osh Vegas the night of what is supposed to be a candidate forum between Mandela Barnes and Ron Johnson in his hometown, October 24th. And actually, I believe Rick Smith of the Rick Smith Show, I believe he's going to be in Oshkosh that day as well. He's going to be on the radio tour, I guess. Come back with us. We're on a tour. Now we're doing a 3-hour show right up till the gubernatorial debate in the state of Wisconsin.
A 3-hour tour?
And we've got fine guests joining us. We've got Charles Franklin and Maggie Daun, but not yet. You're next at 844-967-2789.
I virtually, you can't, I mean, my lack of.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Listen to your favorite political talkers no matter where you are. 92.7 FM in Madison and Eastern Dane County, 1580 AM Columbus, north of Madison, and for daytime east-west commutes on I-94, 101 FM in the Shaw, and 540 AM covering eastern Wisconsin all day and covering the Milwaukee Metro, the Wow Counties, Racine, and Kenosha 24/7. Download the free Devil Radio app for your smartphone and take both stations with you everywhere. No excuses, just listen.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Thursday night at 7 p.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Listen right here on 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire.
Nothing seems real,
Tracy Howard sitting on the same porch where his wife Nicole Connors was shot and killed in their Raleigh, North Carolina neighborhood. He described what he saw when he got home yesterday evening.
I pulled up and see my friend laying on the ground from across the street, and then I seen my wife and a dog up here.
4 other people, including a 16-year-old, were also killed, and 2 more were wounded in the shooting. It started in the neighborhood and then went to a popular nature walk behind the houses. Howard says the teenager 2 doors down was the shooter.
I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it was him, especially a 15-year-old with a shotgun.
The teen is in custody and critical condition. Police are not saying how he was injured. In a speech to the International Monetary Fund, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says President Biden and the administration are taking steps to ease the pain of inflation.
It can take time to see the impact of these actions, but we know that they have and will continue to make a meaningful difference.
The government says retail sales were unchanged in September from August as rising prices for rent and food chipped away at the money available for other things. On Wall Street, the Dow closed down 403 points. The S&P fell 86. Russian President Vladimir Putin expects his troop mobilization for combat in Ukraine to end in about 2 weeks. That would allow him to end the unpopular and chaotic call-up meant to counter Ukrainian battlefield gains and solidify his illegal annexation of Ukrainian territory. Senior U.S. officials tell the AP the Defense Department has gotten a request from SpaceX and Tesla founder Elon Musk to take over funding for his satellite network that has provided crucial battlefield communications for Ukrainian military forces during the war with Russia. This is AP News.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn the best price from up to 10 price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-890-6688. That's 800-890-6688. 800-890-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court. But did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites. Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion too. A champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. I want you to make sure you're registered to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
I think I know why.
They're worried about our power.
So they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
So please register to vote and get out to vote. Just go to myvote.wi.gov.
myvote.wi.gov.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. That's how you can be a champion too.
Just go to myvote.wi.gov to register to vote. Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
It's your only opportunity to hear from the candidates together. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers and Republican challenger Tim Michels meet for one general election debate this Friday, October 14th at 7 p.m. You can hear it live on this local Civic Media radio station. Learn where they stand on policies and issues important to you and your family, then vote on November 8th. The only gubernatorial debate live Friday, October 14th at 7 p.m. on your local Civic Media radio station and streaming on the Civic Media app.
A progressive voice in rural Wisconsin, WTTN 1580 AM is South Central Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matner with your headlines. Democratic Governor Tony Evers and Republican challenger Tim Michels will take to the debate stage this evening in their first and only gubernatorial debate ahead of Wisconsin's November 8th election. You can listen to the entire debate across Civic Media at 7 p.m. this evening or catch the replay Saturday and Sunday at 1 p.m. Incumbent GOP U.S. Senator Ron Johnson and Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes held their final debate last night. Marshfield company H&S Manufacturing has made it to the final round of voting in the Coolest Thing Made in Wisconsin contest. The company nominated for its Loadmaster 2X. Only 4 companies and products have made it to the last round. Voting closes Wednesday, October 19th. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic rolling into the Friday happy hour. Everybody's getting happy up in here. We got a big Badger game going on this weekend. Badgers at your beloved Michigan State Spartans.
Oh, Sparty. On the road, Badgers. Tough. It's been a tough couple of weeks for the Badgers.
Well, the Spartans are 2-4.
Oh, okay.
And the Badgers are 3-3, but the Badgers, let's see the trajectory, let's just say. The Badgers, played quite well last weekend. Sort of stomped on Northwestern. But that was after they fired their coach for 2 god-awful performances in a row.
Yes.
But here's the most important part. Win or lose, always listen to the Badgers on the Civic Media app. You can listen to them on WRCE in Richland Center, or you can listen to them on locally grown radio, WFHR. And we'll give you a little push tomorrow, a little reminder that the Badgers kick off at 1 o'clock, and then they whoop up on Michigan State ass, Sparty's ass. Kind of like Mandela Barnes did to Ron Johnson last night.
Yes.
And of course, this big showdown, we're going to do extended coverage because we've got a gubernatorial debate going on in our backyard in the great state of Wisconsin.
The only gubernatorial debate.
The singular debate.
Terrible.
I mean, we have a daily debate, Dom. You think they'd have the courage, half the courage we demonstrate each
You know
and
what
every
I'm
day.
saying? Come on, we do this every day. They can step up once in a while.
And we're going to have a fine pollster coming up in the extended coverage in the 6 o'clock hour. Charles Franklin has been a frequent flyer recently, but I want to ask Charles, historically speaking, has the debate ever turned, a senatorial or a gubernatorial race in recent or even extended memories?
Yeah, when Nixon started sweating on television.
Flops. Well, here's what I've heard about the Nixon debate, and we are in the radio medium, right? If you watched it, Kennedy won.
Right.
But if you listened, Nixon won. Depending on your point of view, there were differing perspectives. But I don't think Ron looked so good last night.
That's why I read the transcripts, Crudy.
So you aren't
not swayed by
influenced
the physical
unduly.
appearance of the candidates. Yes.
And of course, we got a great guest coming in next. She's a good friend of ours. She is Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, one of the sharpest people I know. And the only embarrassment I ever have is when we bring her in studio. I'm no longer the smartest man in the room.
Crudy, she's also an award-winning broadcaster who beat us out. So
she did, which doesn't make it any easier. Best interview one here. We thought for sure.
No doubt.
You know, our biggest problem, Dom, we submitted an interview with U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. I think our submission was the day after he voted to acquit President Donald Trump.
The impeachment. First
impeachment. And anyways, I thought it was damn good interview style, super cool journalism. And they thought Maggie's work was better.
Apparently.
Not that I'm butthurt or anything.
No, not at all. You let that go a long time ago. Maggie going to join us here in just a bit.
She's in the hizzy in the Shaw, Dom.
Before we get to the callers at 844-967-2789, a little bit of breaking news here from the Washington Post.
Who broke it?
The Justice Department asked a federal appeals court to reverse a Florida judge's order appointing a special master to review documents seized from Trump's home and club, arguing that the former president had no right to possess the seized materials after he left office, and there was no legal basis for an outside reveal.
So if I understand you, Dom, because that's incomplete information, it's Eileen Cannon's ruling. She's the Trump appointee that appointed the former retired judge, Deary, who's been the special master, although it hadn't been a Deary good time for Trump because, of course, even the special master is trying to hold him accountable. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, we don't want to take this, despite the urging of Jenny Thomas's husband.
Yeah, right. The prosecutors, as mentioned, already appealed portions of Cannon's special master appointment, but Friday, first time they appealed the entire order. If the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit sides with the government, the special master review would stop, and criminal investigators once again will be permitted to access thousands of unclassified documents that FBI agents took from Mar-a-Lago in August.
Game on!
Game on.
844-967-2789. Friday grievances, you can lay them out right here on the airwaves. Dick from Madison. Welcome, Dick. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dick.
Oh, I just hope my mail got some from American Prosperity, but mine isn't a grievance so much as a settlement. To CJ that calls, you know how he always had that talking point about Biden cut and run in
Afghanistan. Yeah.
And then after yesterday's January 6th,
CJ.
He might have been a little wrong on that, in that the his president, the former guy, the clown car, was advocating pulling out
advocating
6 days.
He signed a directive, Dick.
Yes, correct. So can that one get put to bed? You know, the next time he calls, can you just tell him that talking point is now yesterday's news / a joke?
Dick, I don't know. Go ahead. One more quick grievance.
And then to Ron Johnson last night. Well, at least give him a little credit. I know this is going to be a little bit hard.
He didn't crap himself on the stage? What's the credit
due? He didn't say, well, this guy's not quite as black as I thought he was. You know, that's about
Dick, he did make reference to the fact the guy didn't have a job like 3 different times. And after complimenting his parents, he said, well, what the hell happened to you, you anti-American?
Why do you hate America?
He did point out, Ron Johnson, quick to point out in the U.S. senatorial debate, I'm part of the Joseph Project. I do have a black friend. It's not Mandela, though. 844-967-2789. Pete's Box Mike, getting your grievances in early on our show instead of your show outside the Pizza Box every noon right here on Civic Media, originating on Devil Radio.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, man, add on to that, Dick, that comment, he had parents and a teacher. Ooh, that's a lot for a black guy, right, Ron? You know, that's what he was saying. It's like, what happened to you after that? Here's a black guy who had two parents and a good teacher, and Ron Johnson lied about everything.
Don't you think that's a big part that he's trying to hearken to some sort of racial stereotype when he keeps talking about the fact Mandela's never had a real job? Well, frick, man, he's been in the government. He's been working for the people for a number of years. Dom and I have known him since he was an elected, like when he was 14 years old.
Listen, hey, he's been there for 12 years. He keeps acting like he's the one that needs to be sent to Washington to fix stuff up. He uses all the same stuff, job creators. It's like they ask him a question on abortion. He goes, we got to end inflation and grow the economy. He's like short-circuiting. He went from a soggy cracker with no salt to a stale soggy cracker with no salt. He talks about like discretionary spending like it's not, in every budget. That's what senators do best. The difference is he's a senator that likes to spend it all on millionaires. And when he says, I helped thousands of people, I'm like, sure you did, at the expense, thousands of millionaires and billionaires at the expense of millions of working class families. I was doing a little mystery pizza box theater last night.
Pizza box, you implied that you didn't garner any sort of benefit out of the private jet tax break in the 2017 tax bill shepherded through by Ron Johnson.
No, that's about the same as, having to pay for Robin Voss and a couple other legislators, Adam Jarkow and Senator Ballweg, for the money they took. Ron Johnson, that $1 trillion or $2 trillion that went the first round of COVID, why didn't you talk about who you voted that all for? And there are Democrats in on that, and that's what my show's about.
Pizza Box Mike, outside the Pizza Box. Saturdays at noon, right here on the Civic Media Network. You can always use the app. If you don't have it yet, you're not a true patriot.
I like Mike's point, and I think it bodes well for Mandela Barnes, talking about the working class citizens, talking about unions and what makes the middle class and what's been missing and what people are concerned about. And I think that resonates very well with lots of people. And you compare that to how Ron Johnson responds and how he talks down to Mandela. Oh, you only sign the back of the check, you never sign the front of a check. Oh, he went to school for art and for performance. This is a performance, and just talking down to Mandela Barnes. I think it's such a distinct feature of Ron Johnson's attitude that it is glaring to me, especially when you see them on stage next to each other.
844-967-2789. Ron is nearly translucent. AJ from Humboldt, California, listening on KGOE. Welcome, AJ. What do you got for us?
Hey, AJ.
Hey, I got a couple of headlines that's inspired by your, 420 break. You say you come back from the 420 break a lot.
Yes, sir.
And ours is 2 hours later. But anyway, it kind of inspired an idea about 420 headlines.
It's 420 somewhere, AJ.
Yeah, but I mean, right. But the idea of 420 headlines that are inspired by the 420 break.
All right, I got you, yeah.
News items, to their fundamentals and all that. And it started the other day when you were talking about grievances. And it was the day that I got that idea when Matt Gaetz' verdict. And and I'll give you the other one about Trump after that. But Matt Gaetz gets off on hung jury. Was the headline, and
you probably like that show when we talked about Lindsey Graham being a jagoff officer.
Yeah, who racked balls till the sun came up.
AJ, we better pause right there
for the cause.
Appreciate you listening out in the Emerald Triangle. It's always 420 out there. And, come back with us. We got the finest of guests. She is Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. She is a friend of the Devils. And we're going to do a little debate preview, a little rehash of the J6 hearing, a little trash talking to RoJo. This will be a tremendous Friday. You don't want to miss it. Call your friends. Tell them to tune in on the Civic Media app, as all the Patriots do.
I was honestly concerned that you might lie about the documents.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
I got a little email missive just a little bit ago. Can I share just a little?
Please.
Friend, Trump is one day away from taking the stage in Wisconsin, and we need you to help stop big tech from censoring his American First message. By taking our Trump rally poll, can we count on your prompt response? Here are your options. Yes, I stand with Trump, or no, I support censorship. Let's just say you feel a little pushed in the corner.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The big and tall of political talk. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. We'll get to them eventually some more today as well. So be patient. We got our guest in here, but you can call us at 844-967-2789.
It always feels good to be in the same room, knuckle up and all that kind of stuff with Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Maggie, Daun, more importantly, our good friend, award-winning broadcaster, although she's given up the sport for Lent this year, apparently.
It's long Lent.
And Maggie, there's so much going on. We appreciate you coming down to the Shaw. We've got a gubernatorial debate tonight, but we've been enjoying the recap of last night's action. Were you able to watch any of the big senatorial debate between Mandela and I Own Three Jets, Ron Johnson?
Yeah, I did, and followed up on a bunch of things given some of the coverage in the Journal Sentinel about the family trust and the planes. So got lots to say about that. Can actually break down what likely is going on from a tax perspective and effectively why the trust is still under Ron Johnson's control. So we can talk about that.
Before we do that, do you think Daniel Bice basically just gets fed the Apple research? These campaigns have taken turns. I mean, did you see that Mandela was interviewed 6 times by Russia Today back in 2015? So he's got Russia associated with his name as well. But Mandela was quick to point out and perhaps the Journal Sentinel dropped it and he had already memorized his scripts. But Mandela was hammering that point before I saw the article by Dan Bice.
Yeah.
Who do you think leaked that Apple research?
I don't want to criticize, one of the only journalists left that does
Dan
try
Bice.
to actually cover local politics. Like, that's one of the problems with what's happened in journalism, to journalism, including, the monopoly that Sinclair, a conservative leaning media conglomerate, has done on even local television coverage. I will say this about Mr. Bice. Shame on you for the piece about the RT news interviews by Mandela. They were pretty benign if you actually watch the tape on them. And I just think it was so much of the criticism leveled against Lieutenant Governor Barnes is so clearly tinged with buzzwords that tee off of the racist sort of subconscious of this state and our country writ large. And so to see Bice kind of play this false equivalency game was really disappointing. I think Dan can do a lot better and should. So I was really disappointed to see how that was treated by Bice. But clearly they're getting fed information.
Someone on the panel yesterday called him a hack. I'm pretty sure it was them.
Come on. Oh, Crudy. I think you're the one that takes exception to Bice's writing. But, I mean, there is a role for that. And I agree with you. I mean, I looked at the piece and right off the bat, I'm like, oh, that's bunk. So what?
Right.
And I didn't even bother to go back and listen to them. Sure,
I did.
If there was something there, Bice would have been on it.
Correct.
So
it would have been in the piece.
Right. So
That's
fact of, hey, guy did an interview with Russia Today back in 2015.
That's what Roger Stone should have tweeted a picture of an empty burger bun about. That piece by Bice is the nothing burger of political news this week.
Right.
Again, shame on you, Dan. You can do better. There's so much more going on.
Yeah. Well, of course, the contrast is that Ron Johnson took the 4th of July in the USSR, the former Soviet Union, I guess, in Russia in July
2018.
2018. Yep.
So timing matters, right? Like the lieutenant governor gets interviewed in 2015 and 2016. We didn't at that point in time know the extent to which, Russia illegally, with malintent, meddled and tried to tip.
You know who knew?
Yeah,
Ron
Johnson. That's
and
right.
Above and beyond that, talking about interviews. Well, he was interviewed by Russia Today, and he was interviewed by the FBI,
Yes.
and he's saying the FBI is corrupt. They're trying to smear me.
They set me up, and I'm working to expose the hypocrisy of the FBI.
Only a CEO in law, right? That is a middle-aged white man, right? With billions, who's got play money to buy planes for their complete tax deduction, could have the audacity to think it's, quote, a setup when law enforcement agents sit you down to say, hey, these people that you're dealing with all the time, they might not have the best intents for our country. How is that a setup, sir? They were warning you. And by the way, does anybody really think that intelligence agents like these that sat down Mr. Johnson,
deep state,
really want to share with loudmouthed conspiracy,
possibly compromised
theory spouting, COVID denying knuckleheads and tell them about their methods and where they get their sources from and all of the specifics of their intelligence? All due respect, Senator Johnson, you were chairperson of the Homeland Security Committee. Apparently they didn't think your clearance was quite good enough.
The fact that the Mandela team jumped on that and got T-shirts out there to the marketplace within a matter of minutes or maybe a couple of hours. I mean, that is sometimes an entire elective cycle turns on a moment. That might have been the moment.
I don't know if it's sticking. I mean, one of the things that I would be running all of the time, and maybe one of your callers has talked about this, would be just running the clip of him saying, well, the paperwork about, the Lynn Wood conspiracy laden theory that I tried to pass to the vice president. It wasn't me, like just a clip of every single different thing that he said on tape about that. Just run that as an ad.
Yep.
I'm on my phone.
A super slice for 60 seconds would do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. All you need to do is cut that footage together. I didn't think Mandela hit him hard enough, that the Lieutenant Governor Barnes hit him hard enough on his anti-democratic stance. The fact that he told people mouthwash would cure COVID. The fact that he's a climate change denier, that as recently as 2020 was telling news outlets that he doesn't believe there's enough evidence to support observed climate change. Hey, buddy, the entire world is literally on fire or being subject to some tsunami, cyclone, or flood. Tell the people in Florida and in California and in Arizona that there's no climate change problem. That entire basin of water in the Southwest that they miscalculated how to appropriate that back in the 1800s, those folks are going to legit run out of water. Tell those people there's no climate change problem.
There's nothing we can do about it though, Maggie.
Yeah, so just let the free market, figure that out. It'll work out perfectly.
Come back with us. We'll ask Maggie Daun to say one thing nice about Ron Johnson. More Devil's Advocates.
FBI, open up! The FBI set me up.
like, wow, Scoob, it's Devil Radio. Rebel Radio?
Salvatore's Tomato Pies, home of Madison's best farm-to-table pizza, is hiring. We are seeking line cooks, prep cooks, dishwashers, pizza makers, bartenders, servers, delivery drivers, and hosts. Sal's offers great pay, free shift meals, paid time off, and health insurance available for those working 30 hours a week. Students are welcome too. Positions available at all locations, Madison, Monona, and Sun Prairie. Stop into any location for an immediate interview or apply online at salvatorestomatopies.com.
Hi, I'm a pleasant voice reminding you to enable Devil Radio before playing Devil Radio. First, you have to enable Devil Radio, which should be natural to Wisconsinites. Just say, Alexa, enable Devil Radio. Then firmly and confidently say, Alexa, play Devil Radio. This should conjure the Devil Radio app, available at the App Store.
With an AP News Minute, a 15-year-old boy accused of shooting and killing 5 people, wounding 2 others, is in critical condition after being arrested in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tracy Howard says his wife, Nicole Connors, was shot and killed while chatting with a neighbor on their front porch.
Fun-loving person. She was good people. She was a good person. Yeah. She took care of me, She took care of her whole family.
The neighbor was also wounded and is in critical condition. Howard says the suspect lived 2 doors down.
I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it was him, especially a 15-year-old with a shotgun.
The victims include a police officer on his way to work, a mother of 3 who was an avid runner, and another woman walking her dog on a greenway behind the neighborhood, plus a 16-year-old high school junior. In the baseball playoffs, the Cleveland Guardians even their AL Division Series with a win apiece, beating the New York Yankees 4-2 in 10 innings. Game 3 of the best-of-5 series tomorrow night in Cleveland. I'm Tim McGuire.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn the best price from up to 10 price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-890-6688. That's 800-890-6688. 800-890-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News with headlines and commentary. There's something quite interesting about the latest Marquette poll, and the takeaway is something you really should keep in mind. The poll starts with 800 registered voters and then asks, are you absolutely certain you'll vote in November? If you start with the full group, the Ron Johnson-Mandela Barnes race is a dead heat, 47-47. If you look only at the people who said they are certain to vote, Johnson's up by 6, the number everyone's talking about. If you look at the other group, the ones not certain if they'll show up to vote, Mandela Barnes is up by 20 points. Same with the governor's race. Evers is up by 5 among the whole group. It shrinks to 1 point among likely voters, but among those not sure if they'll vote, Evers is also up by about 20 points. Needless to say, anyone supporting the Democratic candidates would be wise to treat this as marching orders to turn those wishy-washy folks into actual voters. Find us at upnorthnewswi.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, rolling through the happier happy hour all the way up till the 6 o'clock extended coverage, all the way up to the 7 o'clock gubernatorial debate right here in the great state of Wisconsin. And CJ, I see you in the queue, man, but, you know, in that I got a couple more hours. You just stew a little, buddy. You just stew. Maybe we'll let you in, but maybe we won't. You'll just have to wait and see. But we got the finest of guests here in the Waukesha studios, the 540 AM studios. She's Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. More importantly, she's a friend of ours and a trusted guest. What do you think about the January 6th that went on yesterday? Maggie, were you able to watch any or all of the testimony, or just listen to it on the Civic Media app like the real patriots?
I was working. But after I was done working, I did pay some close attention to some of the recaps and highlights of that. You know,
ours was best.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, Mike. I have no doubt about that. You know, let's be clear. The subpoena is sort of subpoena in name only, right? Like that is not
the Trump subpoena.
Yeah. You know, the DOJ has yet, except for Bannon, not been particularly interested in prosecuting when people have failed to appear in response to the congressional subpoena. You know, certainly the Trump subpoena is precedent setting. It's symbolic. It's an important symbol. I'm glad they did it.
It was almost like a jury ruling guilty, one after another after another. I mean, that's effectively what that's what came to my mind immediately.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like, right? And that was the intent. It was quite dramatic. That is an historic moment. There's no disputing that. But I simply would give the odds at him ever appearing under oath before any sort of congressional committee at statistically insignificantly different than zero.
What about Robin Vos? How is Robin Vos off the hook? Now, I understand Robin Vos has a hearing date October 24th. Even if it happened after the midterms, there's still that lame duck period with this investigatory body could still be laying out reports, still doing investigations, still handing off the transcripts to the DOJ. Do you think that Robin Vos will have to testify, and will we, the people, ever get to see any of the transcripts or videotape or whatever? I'd really like to.
No kidding, right? I think as to others like Vos, you may see some people be forced to sit down before the new midterm election folks are actually sworn in. Your reference to the lame duck. It's not like they take office the day after the election. So I think that's possible. The reality is, regardless of all of that, the January 6th committee hasn't changed anybody's mind. We thought it was. I mean, I was standing with Daun and some of the other radio folks watching that first hearing, and I couldn't believe how well put together it was. And I thought, how do you watch any of this and not be moved? The people that offered the most compelling testimony were his closest allies, his staff, people he hired, and his own family. And yet polling shows that if people identify as Republican, they don't care about it. The other incredible thing—
because if you got a conscience, you no longer identify as a Republican. That's my thought. You have walked away from that party and from the actions of January 6th. And I don't care what the polling says. I'm going to take that one to my grave. I'm going to pound it every day I need to.
I agree, Mike.
From here to the end of time, because
I agree.
They tried to coup d'etat democracy.
184 minutes. Sir, what were you doing at this time? Who did you call? What did you say, sir, under oath? Why Republicans don't feel that that is an important question to ask? That man under oath tells you everything you need to know about the utter debasement of the Republican Party. To those that still affiliate, I agree with you, Mike, for shame. It is an absurdity piled on absurdities. This is for the historical record, and it is as a compelling of a case as one could possibly imagine. And I believe that in the end sum, what this has done is placed incredible pressure on the DOJ to move forward with some prosecutions.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Maggie Daun, our friend. Maggie, I mean, yes, for history, certainly, but there's got to be a consequence to this. And be it the DOJ to subpoena Donald Trump or the Congress, I mean, what does it say? And I agree. The odds of Trump showing up pretty slim. But what does that say about our process when we know that the rich criminal former president doesn't have to respond to something like this?
That is the incredible thing that I cannot understand for middle white America. You are, by continuing to support this party, supporting the concept that rules and the rule of law simply do not apply to old, rich white dudes. These are the men that own the businesses that you labor at, that cut your wage or don't give you benefits. These are those men. The tax cut that Ron Johnson angled for, that he basically held his vote in suspension, that he used to bribe the entire Senate, conferred billions of benefits on 82 families in this country. That's who you're voting for. For shame. Find your way to your own damn self-interest. Try that one out. Right. Stop leading with your racism and your misogyny and your homophobia and the fact that it's easy to vilify communities that you have never known and don't associate with. That is what children do. Turn the brain on, your prefrontal cortex, not just the amygdala. Use the gray matter between your ears to decipher and to see what is so clearly plain to those of us who haven't resigned our consciousness nor our mental strength when we look at the facts. It is absolutely stunning, the level of forced ignorance or persistence with stupidity that you see displayed. CJ, I'm talking to you, sir.
He's in the queue.
I don't have words for it. The sad thing is, you talk about accountability, Dominic. Here's the reality. The only Republicans that are being held accountable are those that haven't taken the little pill and swallowed Trump and the MAGA knuckle dragging people's baloney. Those are the Republicans being punished. The Ben Sassy's former senator, right? It's Lynn Cheney. It is only those who have stood up that have paid any price. It's as if the Republican Party's messaging is now, only if you're delusional are you welcome here.
It's not the delusion, it's the power. They will accept anything in the pursuit of power. And let me ask you, because I think that is what, in no small part, corrupted Ron Johnson. So he went on the debate stage last night. I didn't hear Mandela Barn ask this question that I'd love to ask of Ron. Ron, have you considered getting yourself a good effing criminal defense attorney in regards to accepting a phone call from the Trump lawyer and trying to hand off fraudulent Trump electors to the vice president on January 6th after you'd already stated publicly that you were going to deny the outcome of the election, sir? And I know you've changed your tune, but maybe you got a little blood on your hands that day, sir.
Put him under oath. You know, it seems to me...
Why would I be subpoenaed?
Because you passed along fraudulent documents that attempted what became a violent overthrow of the government?
Up for subpoenas anymore.
Just a couple seconds.
Because he's a billionaire. If you're a billionaire dip blank nitwit and you're a white male, apparently the rule of law simply doesn't apply to you. It's absolutely ridiculous. The amount of hypocrisy, gaslighting, and just garbage nonsense that comes spewing out of the entire right. Where is the voice of the centrist or the traditional conservatives? I don't hear it anymore. They have been drowned out by the screaming. If you say it loud enough and frequently enough, apparently a lot of dumb people will believe you. I didn't want to think this of our country, but this is a dark time. That Johnson is pulling ahead of Mandela Barnes. Johnson, who is demonstrably unfit to hold any office because he is traded on racial stereotypes and tropes. The ads attacking Mandela, the Lieutenant Governor Barnes, about not paying taxes are absolutely laughable. When every single plane ride that Johnson is like, oh, I paid for it. Yeah, but the trust that you set up that you can draw money from at will because it's your irrevocable trust. Yeah, all of that money that you just put into the air to pay for the airplane, that entire airplane LLC is then owned by the trust that you set up, which is effectively a tax dodge that you can pull any money out of that you want to at any time and that your kids will get. It's an estate tax dodge. That's all it is. You're paying yourself to take a ride on your own airplane, sir. And by the way, the entire value of that airplane is depreciated in the LLC's books to zero. So it's as if they didn't pay for it at all. And I guarantee
is expensed off in like the first year?
I forget
depreciation over 5 or 6 years.
Yes, it's extremely fast. They take the entire thing as a tax write-off, which reduces their overall tax. And someone's leasing it, right? I would like to know who's leasing it, because I guarantee you this whole little
the Ron
concocted,
DeSantis campaign.
Yes. I guarantee you it's some crap.
Allegedly.
I totally guarantee you it is effectively an illegal campaign contribution, whoever is leasing it, because I guarantee you got a bunch of Republicans flying around on these things. It's all has the patina of defensibility, but if one knows a little bit about tax law, a little bit about corporate entities, a little bit about how rich people create generation skipping trusts and the massive exemptions that apply to these things, you know that this is all shell game, and the people that control that money at the end of the day, it's Ron and his wife, CEO-in-law.
You're butthurt because you didn't take advantage of the private jet tax exemption in the 2017 Trump-Johnson tax cuts.
So let me jump in here, if I may. Maggie, Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Crudy, our fair audience, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, now reporting former President Barack Obama will headline a rally on October 29th in Milwaukee as he tries to boost top Democrats, including Evers and Barnes.
October 29th in Milwaukee, Civic Media will broadcast live from the Barack Obama rally in Milwaukee. You know we're blowing it out, broadcast network-wide. Can't wait till the former president, skipping a generation, comes back to Milwaukee. Where he's
the
beloved.
29th, that is a Saturday. That is 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Man, we're going to have conflicts with college football, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, you mean the Badgers that are performing so swimmingly?
Since we fired the coach and got a new one, we're much better.
That was the problem, right?
It was the problem.
All right, but the former president.
We can argue about that off air.
We also, just for your record, young lady, are the home of the Marquette Eagles basketball in Wisconsin Rapids and Wausau, and I know you're a fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Eagles, always have been. The best thing about attending Marquette for undergrad and grad school in Wisconsin for law school is that it's almost always a win-win proposition, or a lose-win or a win-lose. Somebody's picking up a W over the weekend.
You mean when the Badgers
I love that.
play Marquette?
Right.
When they play Marquette, when Marquette without the football team, there's some sport at Marquette that is winning over the weekend. So even when the Badgers lose, I usually get to chalk one in the W column.
The former president coming to Milwaukee, October 29th. We got about a minute left in this segment, Maggie. Obviously a big deal. How important is this to the Barnes campaign and for African American turnout in the city of Milwaukee?
Huge, epic. Thank you, President Obama. Boy, do we miss you.
Trump's coming back. We'll be doing a doubleheader, a Trump and a Obama rally right here on Civic Media. Well, we know that Obama's coming back to town. We know that this fine network will broadcast it live when it happens, October 29th. Breaking news. Daun broke it for the fine panel, and we do have a fine panel. It includes Maggie, Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, friend of ours, fine radio host. I mean, all you listening right now are like, she just dominates this show like Mandela dominated Ron Johnson on the debate stage. But Maggie, I'm very curious how you think Evers is going to do against the loud-talking Tim Michaels. We're going to broadcast that debate live at 7 Central Time. Stick around. More of the Devil's Advocates, an extended live show up to debate time with our good friend Maggie Daun.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Get a great effing criminal defense lawyer. You're going to need it. You can't.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
The plaintiff, Donald J. Trump, hereby serves his suit against the defendants, Hillary Clinton and her cohorts, orchestrated an unthinkable plot, one that shocks the conscience and is an affront to the nation's democracy.
This week on Fox.
You know what I mean? Like you're throwing a few too many adverbs and adjectives in this sentence.
One man, one mission Donald Trump gets made fun of. This is Watergate 2.
Making radio great again.
You've waited 12 years for this, but you just didn't know what the flavor was going to be. Nothing has tasted quite right up until now. Sometimes it tasted dumb, crazy, or even seditious. But now it tastes just right. Introducing Mandela Mash, a legit lager. This beer won't embarrass you in public. It comes in an aluminum can, not a tinfoil hat, and it was made in America, not Russia. With a clean finish, the taste doesn't lie. Mandela Mash, the only sane choice for U.S. Senate. Available only in Wisconsin. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com to find where you can buy this fresh new flavor of American democracy.
It's 4 a.m. and you're sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. If you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. We'll get to them eventually at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the best trash talking happens during the commercial breaks. I wish we could share. We have the finest of guests. She is Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, our good friend, a fine broadcaster in her own regard. Wish she'd go back to that full-time or at least part-time occasionally.
It's hard to work for free, boss.
Hey, I didn't say you had to work for free, just Dominic. Let me ask you this, Maggie Daun. The gubernatorial debate goes off tonight at 7 o'clock. We're going to broadcast it here on Civic Media. And you never called me back. I'd give you a job if you weren't such a big shot. But the big debate.
We'll talk, friend.
The big debate going off on Civic Media, of course, the WBA debate. And this is the only opportunity. And it's going up against the final week of high school football of the regular season. So a lot of networks are not going to be able to carry this live. We are trying, in deference to the high school football fans, we're going to play it out 3 times. We're going to play it out live tonight at 7. We're going to play it live on Saturday at 1 o'clock, and then again Sunday at 1 o'clock. So if you didn't hear it tonight, if you can't stick around for the live debate, we'll play it again. But Maggie, what do you expect? Can Tony Evers, and I've told you, I've got some personal insights. Tony Evers has got more fire in his belly than he often shows publicly. If he's ever going to be a fighter for the people of Wisconsin, he better go prove it tonight. Is he capable?
Yes, I think Governor Evers is capable, but I think one of the things that appeals about him to many people is the fact that he's not a table thumping screamer. That's not his style. He's never going to be that guy. And we need a whole lot less of those guys right now. We can start by not voting that guy, Tim Michaels, who is yet another sort of tone deaf, I'm always right because it's my thought type of guy.
It's my dad's company. I'm always right.
Right. You know, the CEO's son. I think you'll see some zip, a little bit more pep in his step than you typically see from the governor. I hope he is as pointed as he needs to be about the absurdity of many of Mr. Michael's opinions and viewpoints and his utter lack of qualifications for this job. I always love it when private sector folks think, well, just swoop in here and fix this government thing.
Exactly. Can't fire everybody, man.
Well, let me ask you, this private sector, I mean, this corporation has done over $1 billion with the state of Wisconsin in road construction business.
Yeah, and how's that going to work?
Michael says he's going to divest. He's supposed to be what, the CEO or some high executive in this corporation. Well, he would be the guy signing the contracts, or what? He, like, I can't sign, Dom. You sign for me. You're my designee. And therefore it's divested and it's all good.
Well, there's been no articulated plan as how that would happen.
That's exactly right, Dominic. That's exactly right. So everybody can say, divest. And then like, no.
The stack of papers I divested.
Right. They're not in my office anymore. See, no control. I mean, it does matter how. The how here matters. Yeah. I hope the governor asks him that point blank. You've said that you will divest. Can you please specify exactly how that's going to happen? I don't have an issue about like who's going to sign. That can be dealt with through a bunch of legalities. But the point is, are you going to have control over this? And the reality is these blind trusts that get set up and yada, yada, yada. Do you really think a guy who's been boss man for his entire living, waking memory on this planet is somehow not going to at least indirectly be telling people what to do with his business? It's sort of like Michaels is our own Wisconsin homegrown Trump. Right? Like, oh, no. My family's not going to benefit from all these huge amounts of state and federal dollars that go to these massive public works contracts. The idea that he won't reap a benefit from being in the governor's mansion is simply ludicrous on its face. I hope this is one of the points that Governor Evers makes. The other thing is people do...
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to mention, I think that Trump and Michaels have at least one thing in common. They both own real estate in Manhattan, where they spend most of their time.
Well, that's Daun, like Ron Johnson on the seacoast of Florida most of his time.
Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, our friend. Another issue obviously going to come up, the abortion issue. And Michael's initial positions, which were terrible, and now apparently compromising his very, very important held beliefs, if the need changes, if people want him to. What's your take on where Michael stands on abortion right now and how it compares to, of course, Tony Evers?
Liar, pants on fire. This guy is a Trumpist in the truest sense of the word. Anything that he says cannot be relied upon. It's all a pack of lies. And he's telling them simply to hoodwink voters into casting a vote for him.
He could mean it when he says it.
He could, and he could be, I actually had my toes crossed in my shoes when I said that, so it's okay. I'll go to confession about it. No problem. I mean, it's not reliable. No. How does a candidate for governor, sir, have you not thought through rape and incest as exceptions and the life of the mother? It's not like this issue came out of the blue. When he was interviewed after the Dobbs decision came down, he affirmed his no exception stance repeatedly. It is only because of the poll numbers. That is not a good faith belief. He's not telling you what he believes. He's lying to you.
Well, so did Scott Walker. That's what politicians do.
I disagree. Respectfully, I think that is a broad brush that we have to stop getting away from. I don't think it helps the debate. Politicians will color things. They will spin. There is hyperbole used. This is not hyperbolic any longer. These are out and outright lies.
Expediency just changed with the weather.
But this is why I have to interrupt that, because you hear constantly from Republicans, Democrats do it too. I'm done with that. No, sir, not true. To the extent that Democrats may engage in political rhetoric, yes, politics is rhetoric. But there is no comparability. These are false equivalencies, and they do and wreak real harm. Not all politicians lie. Every politician politics. That's the name of the game, literally.
Yeah, but that's Tim Michaels. He's not so strong rhetorically. I don't know if you saw the primary debates. The guy was trying to run out the clock. I think he could be exposed. I mean, he was like 5 seconds away from just losing his mind. And
he's the result.
No idea.
He's the result of Trump and Sarah Palin have a baby.
The love child. He was dropped in Connecticut by the stork. Maggie Daun, don't go too far. We got a fine guest joining us for the extended coverage. She is Charles Franklin, pollster from the Marquette University Law School polling outfit, one of Maggie Daun's fine alumni universities. More devil's advocates. We graduated from La Crosse.
Fine school.
If we don't battle to the death, they will kill us both.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
This is Chad Spate. In 1992, I moved to Madison to pursue a PhD at UW, and I started a residential remodeling company called Chad's Carpentry. I was eager to make a difference, to change the world, and I soon realized that our remodeling company was a great place to start. We pride ourselves on understanding how houses work so that your home improvement project actually improves your home, and we love what we do. To learn more, go to chadsdesignbuild.com, and thank you, Madison, for 30 great years.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Thursday night at 7 p.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Listen right here on 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM, and the...
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison. Always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. Police in Raleigh, North Carolina are investigating a 15-year-old accused of killing 5 people, wounding 2 others in their middle-class neighborhood and a popular walking path.
Police say the teen killed 2 people in the streets and then fled toward a walking trail where he opened fire, killing 3 more people and wounding 2 others. The victims were of different races and ranged in age from 16 to their late 50s. Among them is 52-year-old Nicole Connors, the matriarch of her extended family. Her husband, Tracy Howard, still finds it difficult to comprehend the carnage caused by the young suspect.
I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it was him, especially 15-year-old with a shotgun.
The teen is hospitalized in critical condition. Police say no motive has been determined. I'm Norman Hall.
A federal judge rules DACA, the current version of a federal policy that prevents the deportation of hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children, can continue, at least temporarily, with limitations. Retail sales were flat last month, inflation one of the factors. Here's Mike Hempen.
The Commerce Department says the pace of sales at U.S. retailers was unchanged last month from August. For many Americans, the rising cost of rent and food reduced the amount of money available for other purchases. Sales at grocery stores increased 0.4%, helped by rising food prices. But sales at auto dealers fell 0.4% in September, while business at consumer electronics and appliance stores dropped nearly 1%. Overall spending has slowed and shifted increasingly toward necessities such as food. I'm Mike Hempen.
Officials in Turkey say 22 people are dead, dozens of others trapped inside a coal mine following an explosion today. An official says the blast was caused by flammable gases inside the mine. There were 110 people there at the time of the explosion. This is AP News.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Hi there.
Hey, Charles. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hold on one sec. Let me get my headphones on. Okay, there we go.
How's this? Can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you on this fine day?
It's good. I'm doing this off my phone. I'm parked in a parking lot, but
Sure. Yeah, no, it works just fine.
Okay, very good.
Yep, we got you loud and clear. So thanks so much. We're heading back on air here in about 2 minutes.
Very good. All good.
Good deal. I'll put a little of the feed in your ear here. One moment.
Okay.
7 p.m. You can hear it live on this local Civic Media radio station. Learn where they stand on policies and issues important to you and your family. Then vote on November 8th. The only gubernatorial debate live Friday, October 14th at 7 p.m. on your local Civic Media radio station and streaming on the Civic Media app.
Listen to your favorite political talkers no matter where you are. 92.7 FM in Madison and Eastern Dane County, 1580 AM Columbus, north of Madison, and for daytime east-west commutes on I-94, 101 FM in the Shaw, and 540 AM covering eastern Wisconsin all day and covering the Milwaukee Metro, the Wild Counties, Racine, and Kenosha 24/7. Download the free Devil Radio app for your smartphone and take both stations with you everywhere. No excuses, just listen.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, McFarland's choice for essential radio.
For Civic Media, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The final debate between U.S. Senator Ron Johnson and Democratic challenger Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes took place last night in Milwaukee, with both sides going on the offense in the final stretch of the campaign. Senator Johnson said Democrats are waging a war on fossil fuels that needs to stop despite oil companies experiencing record-setting profits this year. Lieutenant Governor Barnes stated Senator Johnson has done nothing while in office for middle-class Wisconsinites and instead focused on tax breaks that benefit his wealthy donors and voting no on bills that would benefit veterans and the working class. Barnes stated he believes a middle-class tax cut and making the child tax credit permanent would help provide relief for Wisconsin families. When both candidates were asked to say something admirable about their opponent, Lieutenant Governor Barnes said it's respectable Senator Johnson is a family man. Senator Johnson said Barnes had a good upbringing, but then said Barnes has turned against America. Johnson has stated this campaign he is tired of the divisiveness in politics. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocate special extended coverage all the way to the 7 o'clock gubernatorial debate, the WBA, the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association. We got a fine guest, I believe, live via Zoom. He is Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire. Charles, I want to be sure it's you, man. Your label is Kofifi, sir.
Well, you know, the thumbs just weren't working on the phone when I typed that in.
Well, that's okay, Charles. We appreciate you being a part. Obviously, a big debate tonight. There was a senatorial debate last night. Charles, to your memory, have you ever seen one of these debates swing the polling in a substantial way? Have you ever seen it be a turning point in any of the electoral races in recent memory here?
None that I can think of. You know, there's maybe some stronger or weaker performances, but when you think of the debates that really stick out, there tend to be presidential debates, and they tend to be when some kind of moment seemed to capture who a person was, and then that became an important part of the latter part of the campaign. I can't remember a Wisconsin senator gubernatorial debate that had a moment like that. But, you know, in one sense, we'd like to hear not gaffes, but we'd rather hear them stake out their positions and let's see who we agree with or not. Granted, the entertainment value that gaffes are always worthwhile.
Charles, you've never seen a moment like that until last night. I wish you could do some instant polling on the FBI set me up and see how the electorate in the great state of Wisconsin, whether or not they share that sentiment of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. The FBI smeared him, sir. That was a moment, let's just say, Charles.
Yes, it was a moment. And the real question I have about this is, will we see that moment in advertising attacking Johnson or not? If it keeps coming up in advertising, if people talk about it, maybe that will have an effect. If it's a passing moment in the debate that doesn't reverberate in the days and weeks ahead, then yeah, it's a moment, but it's just a moment.
Well, Charles, the Mandela Barnes team was already merchandising FBI set me up T-shirts last night within hours of the debate ending, sir. So I don't think they're going to forget the moment.
Let's see. No, that's good teamwork. Ready to pounce when your opponent makes a mistake.
Charles Franklin, our guest, Marquette University Law School polling. Any other moments that struck you last night that would resonate from your polling, sir? Were there topics that were brought up that you thought were important, that were reflected in what you've been asking? What was your overall thought?
Well, I do think we saw the back and forth about crime. Barnes gave his rebuttal to the emphasis on crime that we've seen in that race. And I think the other point would be in the sort of closing moments of say something good about your opponent, where Barnes had a pretty straightforward, he's a family man, but Johnson really used it to attack Barnes again. That I think is the sort of thing that probably doesn't help a campaign to do that.
Charles, when you see a negative statement, I mean, obviously, Ron couldn't help himself, seemingly, but be it negative campaign ads or statements in the public by one campaign directed at the other, like Johnson on the campaign debate stage last night. What have you ever polled that? What are people's opinion when they see that sort of rhetoric?
Yeah, we've not done specific polling on that, but I think what you're seeing is something that speaks to the personality and character of the people, rather than something that, is a matter of policy. These aren't policy things, but would you like to be this person's neighbor? And, there are a lot of people that will vote for folks they wouldn't want for a neighbor. Again, we come back to the polarized politics in which folks are so strongly aligned with party that personality doesn't matter very much. Whether this person seems like someone of integrity doesn't matter very much, because we're so rooted in the political party connection. Having said all of that, I think on the substantive side of the debate last night, you did see two candidates from very different perspectives, to the left or to the right, on a variety of topics, and they did talk about those and show the contrast, even if there were these moments of personal antipathy, let's say.
Folks, you are listening to special extended coverage up to the Wisconsin gubernatorial debate. We've got a fine guest on the Zoom. He is pollster Charles Franklin from the Marquette University Law School poll. And we got a fine guest sitting in with us, this, again, being special extended coverage. We've got Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. We're going to give her a crack at you, Charles. So say hi to Maggie.
Hello, Professor Franklin. Really excited to talk to you. As a Marquette two-time grad, I just wanted to say thank you, sir, for the work that you've done on polling here. I think it's really, one, put Marquette on the map, but also you asked some questions that some national polls forget to ask. Wisconsin is a really unique place, and so I really appreciate your work. So that's, first of all, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and always pleased to meet alumni, especially two-time alumni.
Well, thanks much for that. Here's my question to you. A lot of criticism was leveled at pollsters after the 2016 presidential election. Did that cycle change the way you poll at all, and why? And my second sort of separate but potentially related question is, in your experience talking to others that do the same sort of work, Is there anything about polling in Wisconsin that's uniquely challenging or just different than polling in other parts of the country?
Sure. I think everybody made some adjustments to their polling methodology in the light of 2016. Where there were changes that we could make, that we understood what the nature of those problems were, I think we, by and large, I'm talking about the profession at large, we did those things. Some of the specific adjustments we've made at the Marquette Law School poll are, first of all, we do a diagnostic after every survey to see if our response rates are any different in the more Republican counties of the state or the more Democratic counties of the state. Now, it's hard to know what we would do if they were different, but I'm happy to say so far for the last 2+ years, we've not seen response rates lower in Trump territory, for example, or higher in Democratic territory. That's a big concern of pollsters, that maybe we're just not reaching conservative Trump voters, and that's part of why we, including me, underestimated Trump's vote in 2016. We underestimated him a little bit in 2020, but not nearly as much as in 2016. The other thing that we're doing is making sure we're getting everybody. We dial telephones now, but we have a special stratum for out-of-state area codes that have moved into the state. And when we started the poll a decade ago, that was less than 4% of phone numbers in the state, but it's now 16%. So we have a special stratum so that we can get that 16% of out of area numbers. So those are the main things that we're doing. We're also interviewing more days. So we cover now from Monday through Sunday in our field period, as opposed to just 3 or 4 days that we were doing 10 years ago. That allows us to try longer to reach hard to reach numbers.
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding, sir. And again, I'll just promote myself and the university a bit here. My second degree from Marquette was applied econometrics. So I appreciate a good statistician. And again, the proof is in the pudding. I think your polling has really shown up and shown the vigorousness and rigor of the analysis. My question for you, sir, is you just reported in this last news cycle here a 6-point now lead for Senator Johnson. What do you think's motivating that based on the polling results that led to reporting that 6-point lead?
Sure. Overwhelmingly, the shift that we've seen from August, when we had Barnes up by 7 and now Johnson by 6, is it's a shift among independent voters. Democrats and Republicans are both voting 95% or so for their party's candidate. So there's only a trivial amount of crossover vote, and it's pretty much balancing each other out on that, even with the small amount of crossover. But with independents, we saw a big Mandela Barnes advantage in August, which has now become about a 6-point Johnson advantage with independents. I think the deluge of negative advertising is clearly part of that. Barnes's unfavorable ratings have gone up from 16% unfavorable to 40% unfavorable. And I think that's a consequence of this advertising barrage. Johnson has actually gotten slightly less unfavorable than he was earlier in the year, but he's still a little more unfavorable than favorable. But I think so it's not so much a Johnson surge as it is the attack ads against Barnes are having their effect.
Charles Franklin, short on time. Evers debating Tim Michaels tonight. Where did the polls have him? We're under 1 minute, sir.
Yes, very tight. A 1-point race. That's gone from a 4-point Evers lead to a 3 to a 1. Well inside the margin of error. I think that since this is the only debate, this performance could matter more if either candidate really seems to slip, because they won't have a second debate to make up for it.
Charles Franklin, you've been a frequent flyer this week. We really appreciate you coming around, sir. Thank you so much. Special live coverage up until the Wisconsin gubernatorial debate. Charles, we'll check in with you. When's the next poll dropping, sir?
drops on November 2nd, the Wednesday before the election.
All right.
Look forward to having you back at that time frame. Our good friend Charles Franklin, Marquette University Law School pollster extraordinaire. More Devil's Advocates, more extended coverage up till the gubernatorial debate and the broadcast on Civic Media.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks. Take care.
Here's that song again. Here's that song again for the 100th time today. Here's that song.
Thank you very much, Charles.
It's gonna be stuck in your head all day. Song again. It will make you cray cray.
You love your kids enough to watch that TV show a bajillion times. Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat for their age and size. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
There seemingly is a willingness amongst Republicans to subvert future elections. How troubling is that to you, man?
Yeah, I think it's more than troubling. It's the core issue in the upcoming elections in 22 and 24, and it's going to be seen that way by historians. These people are out to destroy the democracy. To me, that is the linchpin issue in the upcoming election.
To what end, Matt?
Do we destroy our democracy or not?
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times.
Number 1.
Make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside.
2.
Virtual playdates, social and physical distancing can help save lives.
3.
Tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
She calls me from the cold, just when I was low, feeling short of stable.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's my turn, Crudy. Extended
You owe
coverage.
me one from the other day.
You can join us on the lines at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we want to thank our most recent guest live via Zoom, Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire from Marquette University Law School. Poll never long enough, but we've had him plenty this week. And we got a great guest here in the Shaw with us where we're broadcasting live. She is Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Maggie Daun, our good friend and a fine pundit. You're turning into a fine pundit. You should have a full-time radio gig, I think. Team, we're taking the audience, and so many people are eagerly anticipating tonight's event. And I don't mean the high school football games, although some are eagerly anticipating those. I mean the singular gubernatorial debate, and it's Michaels and it's Evers. And we got breaking news today. Daun broke it on the air. Barack Obama coming to Milwaukee between now and Election Day, October 29th, right, Daun?
Saturday, 2 weeks from tomorrow, Barack Obama will be in Milwaukee.
And I suspect Mandela Barnes may even go to this event.
He might. I mean, it's no Joe Biden, but I bet he can make it.
Well, if he's campaigning in town that day. Yeah. But here's the point I would make. Obama's going to bag Trump. You know what I mean? Trump's dying. Oh, if Obama's going to Wisconsin, Trump's coming back to Wisconsin. And the last time Trump was in Wisconsin, what was he here to do? Endorse not just Tim Michaels,
Adam Steen,
the guy that's the write-in candidate against Robin Foss.
The Republican write-in candidate, the bad write-in candidate.
I make a prediction somewhere between October 29th and Election Day, November 8th, I believe that is. Donald Trump will venture back to Wisconsin, maybe Mosinee or something.
Yeah, we'll see DJT for sure.
Trump will be here, and he will encourage people to vote against the Republican Assembly Speaker for Adam Steen, write-in candidate.
But wait a minute, but does what? He? Because Voss has been subpoenaed. I'm just saying.
Is he worried about Voss's loyalty, let's just say? Well, he doesn't respect Voss. He's been pressuring Voss for a year and a half, 2 years, hence the whole Gableman investigation.
Right,
Voss knew better. Voss doesn't believe the BS.
Gableman, I think, is so dumb that he might actually believe the BS. Voss clearly doesn't, right? And like, there's a whiff, there's a vibe I get about Voss that he might be like teetering on the edge. You know, now I got this subpoena. I got to deal with this. I got this dip running against me as a write-in candidate, and you will not leave me alone. You just could have closed your darn mouth, right, and said nothing. But no, you have to come and endorse the guy, and now he knows he's going to show up again. I totally agree with you, Mike. I can see a guy like Voss who has commanded Republicans in this state for a really long time. He is a kingmaker. He got to decide, and now all of that work, which was good, super right-leaning Republican foot soldier state government work.
Longest speaker in the history of Wisconsin.
Exactly. Without Voss, Act 10 doesn't happen. Without Voss, Walker doesn't beat the recall. He was like the guy. And now you got that idiot putting all that at risk. There's got to be a limit, man. Is he there?
Voss has the court date on October 24th, and the hearing will be about whether or not he has to give testimony to the January 6th, but there's not going to be another public hearing. So even if the court rules, yes, Voss must testify, his greatest fear is not testifying. His greatest fear is being exposed publicly for telling the truth
before the election.
Before the election.
Did not win the state of Wisconsin.
So
That
do
would
the
be
risk
disastrous.
analysis. So do the risk analysis for
Yes, I'm doing
Voss,
it.
right? Trump, who's too dumb to think this through, if he sandbags Voss again, what does Voss have to lose if he shows up in response to the subpoena after he wins his election and tells the truth? Like, you just burned me, sir.
That's a big if he wins his election. Not only does he have
Fair.
the Republican primary candidate who's doing the write-in campaign, Joel Jacobson, the Democrat, Joel J.A. Jacobson, S-E-N.
Just asking me, I'll tell you.
Yes, S-E-N, also a write-in candidate. He's run before. He's had some decent numbers. He's running again.
Head-to-head against Voss, he had decent numbers.
Head-to-head, he had 40-something.
In a three-man race with two Republicans, one Trump endorsed.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
one an establishment candidate.
There's no guarantee that Robin Voss makes it out of that election.
Even more incentive
to go answer the subpoena.
Bingo, my friend.
Yes.
Like, I'm just looking at
He
all
won't
of
do the right thing. He's too corrupted at this point in his career.
I-
And he
I-
demonstrated that
I
with the whole
disagree,
Gableman
Mike.
thing.
Listen, I think Voss miscalculated about Gableman. I think he thought, well, then he's not totally corrupted. You just sort of admitted the fallacy in your argument,
Well,
which is
corrupted
this.
the fact that he started it for corrupt reasons in the first
He
place.
was pressured by the
Can
former
we-
president. He capitulated, but you go.
Okay, thank you. What I'm trying to say is within the construct, right, that Donald Trump has created, Voss was one of those folks that was actually trying to chart a middle course. Now, do we in this room agree that that is in and of itself corrupt? Yes. Okay. But when within the construct of this new Trumpian Republican Party, it was very clear to anyone that was paying any degree of attention that Voss was trying to find the razor's edge. I think he thought, I'll put this dippy. Can I finish? I'll put this dippy Supreme Court justice who's been politically humiliated in charge of this ragtag bunch of ne'er-do-wells in some mini mall in Brookfield, and they'll do what they do, and if they find something and there's actual evidence, then we'll look at it. But most of all, this will probably be a joke. He didn't think Gableman was going to go that far nutso, and it came to bite him, and he fired the guy
and called him an embarrassment to the state. Well, what does it say about the judgment who hired a guy he just called the embarrassment of the state for, as we always already agreed to, corrupt reasons, spending millions?
Miscalculation and how much stupid plays today, CJ, I'm talking to you.
Well, it's easy when it's not their money. You know what I'm saying?
Easy. $1 million of taxpayer dollars just to, appease the crazies.
Maggie, Daun, if you don't let me talk in the next segment, I'm going to let CJ talk. Or others, not named CJ, at 844-967-2789. More special extended coverage to the gubernatorial debate in the great state of Wisconsin.
I can't begin to tell you how embarrassed I am.
I'm sorry.
I am once again asking you to listen to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM. I believe they have the moral fiber to create a progressive movement in Wisconsin and indeed in America.
Jason Hafman here for Devil Radio. As the host of Let's Get Local, I have the privilege of talking with entrepreneurs every week. I love hearing their stories about what it means to be a local business owner, provide a valuable service, create local jobs, and to reinvest in our community. That's who Devil Radio and Civic Media want to partner with. We want to lift up area businesses, connect them with our loyal listeners, and grow and succeed together. Let's start building a partnership today. Call 608-819-TALK or visit us online at devilradio927.com.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Drew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at Solidarity.
Coronavirus update. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Public health officials in Washington State and Oregon warn of a likely coronavirus surge this fall and winter. They're urging residents to get an updated COVID booster as soon as possible. A similar warning issued by Germany's health minister as cases begin to rise there and elsewhere in Europe. Indonesia has developed its own coronavirus vaccine.
President Joko Widodo announced the vaccine brand Indovac as a new milestone of Indonesia's pharmaceutical industry that will manufacture primary series vaccines, booster vaccines and vaccines for children in development since November 2021. The nation's Food and Drug Authority had green-lighted emergency use authorization of Indovac in September. The vaccine passed an audit by the country's highest Islamic body that the shot is fit for consumption by Muslims, a particularly important factor in the world's most populous Muslim nation. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
I'm Tim McGuire.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Metnier with your headlines. COVID-19 protections for utility customers being discontinued by Wisconsin utility regulators. The protections have been in place to help low-income customers who were unable to pay their bill in full, allowing them to set up deferred payment plans prior to disconnection. Many utilities would allow customers to make a payment toward their amount owed as a down payment when setting up a repayment plan. Also, utilities had to postpone shutting off gas or water for 21 days if a customer or household member tested positive for COVID-19. As of Wednesday, these protections are no longer in place. Residential customers can be disconnected for non-payment except during the winter heating moratorium that runs until April 15th. Many utility companies will work with customers on a one-on-one basis for repayment. Help is available in the state for low-income heating through federal and state funding. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN, 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show special live extended coverage live in the Shaw 540 AM 101 FM, also playing out across the Civic Media Network. And the Republicans, the locals, they stopped and they honk, probably gave us the finger, I pretty much assume, because we're here on the Fishbowl, Wisconsin Avenue, Waukesha. We're sort of in the belly of the beast, although I'd like to think this more of a purple area, at least here in the city of Waukesha. The county a little redder, but this used to be one of the reddest places in America. And we're going to turn it just a little more purple, let's say. And we'll take your phone calls, unless you're CJ, at 844-967-2789.
We take all callers. Come on, man. It's Friday. We air grievances. I'm sure, Republicans have grievances. CJ has a grievance. He's probably really, really mad that during the January 6th committee hearing yesterday, we found out that Donald Trump signed an order to pull troops out of Afghanistan and Somalia when he realized he lost and wanted to stick it to the next guy.
You mean Donald cut and run Trump?
Yes, yeah.
Capitulator Trump?
Yes, that guy who also freed, I believe, like 5,000 Taliban prisoners as well. I mean, I think that happened sometime. So, I mean, CJ's probably really upset about that.
Really mad about that.
I mean, especially given all the times he's been saying cut and run Biden. It was actually the whole time, cut and run Trump.
You know what else I bet he's really mad about?
What do you think?
The fact that Roger Stone said, don't even bother counting the votes, go right to the violence. I bet that was like really, that made him literally physically ill. Yep, that did it.
The premeditation of the former president.
Right.
I mean, that was like laying out a criminal prosecution for the court of public opinion. And, some are, no, my guy didn't do it. I mean, there's a little bit of jury annulment going on by guys like CJ, but the rest of us watching that, I mean, it's nothing new, but I think the needle has been moved in some small way. I think that January 6th, I think insurrection, I think democracy better be on the ballot. I can't imagine the young people are sitting home going, oh, I'm okay with rights being taken away. I'm okay with losing autonomy over my body.
Yeah, but here's the scary thing. If that's the case, and we look at what they did as a result of losing an election, well, then you justify for everybody to stand up and say, I'm going to storm it. If that's what you're going to do me, I am now storming the Capitol. This is now how we do it.
Well, they're political nihilists, right? Like there's no bottom. It's like whatever promotes my own power grab is completely fine. If I destroy
justify the means, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's that base. There's a reason I keep using the phrase knuckle dragging. There is a sort of Cro-Magnon-esque patina to all of this. Maybe it's not even a patina. It's just the way the thinking is. It's like, that's mine, take to cave. Like that again, screaming louder and more frequently makes what you're saying true. The entire approach to this election cycle is so cynical from the right. It is such a slap in the face to the very populist folks that are now casting votes for these idiots, these liars, these self-aggrandizing. These aren't patriots. This is anti-patriotism. You are helping erode democracy.
Well, it's one thing for a political party to crash and burn. And I have no love lost for the GOP. I mean, we heard it when Trump came to Waukesha. The Link Party of Lincoln died the day that Trump came down the escalator. And they were like proud. It was reborn in Trump Tower. I mean, this is the mantra of the cult. But it's not just Trump. I expect it from Trump. It's the weakness of everybody around him. It's the
starting with Mitch
GOP.
McConnell.
Yeah, yes, the national, the locals. I mean, everybody just bends to his will for what the pursuit of power, this pursuit of money. I'm not clear what it is, but it's also, as we found out yesterday in the January 6th committee hearings, Secret Service had an idea what was up. FBI had an idea what was up. I mean, they deleted. They're missing a bunch of texts from that day, and apparently had a contradictory, I don't know, perhaps false testimony to the January 6th committee about what some Secret Service members knew and when they knew it.
And have you heard a single Republican demand that they find those texts? They're more interested in Hillary Clinton emails and Hunter Biden laptops and blah 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 blah. How about the texts that actually show you a violent insurrection against our government and what the folks charged with protecting the individuals that comprise the operating arm of our government? You're not interested in what they had to say You condone that probably the most important historical record in modern American history somehow went up in flames? Shame.
Are we still trolling CGI? I've lost track.
Him and all of his knuckle dragon buddies.
844-967-2789. Special extended coverage up until the Wisconsin gubernatorial debate. The WBA courtesy of, we're going to play it out right here on the Civic Media Network and replay it over the weekend, 1 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. But Tim Michels is not a polished public communicator. I've heard he's gotten a little better on the campaign trail, but I saw him on the debate stage. I saw him on the stage with Trump, and he's really not very good. I mean, he's really, really just loud. He talks very loudly. That's like,
the louder you talk, the more right you are, Crudy.
I really didn't understand when given the opportunity. Trump was very late to his own rally, apparently, weather delays or something, but they had to fill. I mean, they got Mike Lindell teleporting in from CPAC. And, I mean, they gave the man the microphone. He's trying to win the primary. He's trying to be the next governor of the state of Wisconsin, Tim Michels.
Can't pull it off, right?
And go tell your story, man. I'd still be talking. I'd still be in front of that crowd. Tim Michels had nothing good to say about Tim Michels. Really couldn't.
Well, clearly he should be the narrative. He should be the CEO of an international construction company because he can really motivate people. Wait. Listen, it's not like the Republicans are like, you have to have an IQ of above 50 and be able to string a complete sentence together. We know that this is not apparently a condition for becoming, a really important candidate from the Republican Party because Trump, because Herschel Walker, and
he's also,
Tim Michels.
Herschel Walker debates Raphael Warnock tonight as well.
Oh, yes, they're actually debating.
My understanding, define debating, but my understanding
on the
is
stage together as answering questions.
We'll see.
We'll see.
What about the debate format? The WBA is more of a question and response format. What was on WTMJ for last night, the NBC debate, much more of a debate,
I thought Charles Benson, he has done a really good job, I think, as a journalist, covering Trump and covering it from a Wisconsin and a Milwaukee-based journalist perspective. He did yeoman's work yesterday during that debate.
Yeah, he didn't laugh at all. I thought he did. He was totally professional. I would have totally lost it if I was that guy. So well done, Charles Benson. And who was the other moderator as well? Also from TMJ, I forget her name. I thought they did a fine job.
I don't live in the Milwaukee media market. I don't have to remember the commentators.
Excuses.
844-967-2789. We got Rico listening down in Rock County. Welcome, Rico. Right. What do you got for us?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, man. You guys are doing great things. I just love this new Civic Radio and your expansion, but I'm not getting you real good down here in Rock County there, Crudy.
Dude, all you got to do is get the Civic Media app. Go to the App Store, get the Civic Media app.
I'm old school.
Then get a long antenna, dude.
Get
rid of the flip phone, man.
I'm the one I'm talking to. You want a flip phone? Dude, I'm about as old school as they get. But
I know. I hear you, brother.
Here, listen to me for this, man. Just one thing. What I can't understand. Answer me this. How is it that RoJo, Ron Johnson, is running for Wisconsin State Senate and running for re-election? He hasn't been indicted yet. Is it what in the? Oh. This just drives me crazy. I waited. For months, I waited for this information to even come out on the TV or anywhere, and it's like it has come out just in the last couple of weeks. But I'm like, this is nuts. Why are we even talking about this guy? This guy shouldn't even be allowed to run for an office. He should have been indicted already on them fraudulent votes.
You make an excellent point, Rico. Thanks for listening through the static in Rock County. You go.
Yeah, the reason he hasn't been indicted is because to indict a sitting senator is a really big deal, A. And,
is there a greater...
and B, I don't think anybody thought that RoJo would be leading in the polls. He was one of, if not the most vulnerable sitting senator from the Republican side of the aisle. And I don't know what it speaks to, like the debasement and depravity of the ads, how racist our state is, or how maybe not as well orchestrated as one would have hoped the Barnes campaign has been. But we need every vote now. Let's take Mr. Franklin's poll and prove it wrong. And let's do so that when he polls on the 2nd, we send a chill down the spine of the WOW counties.
You know, they talk about souls to the polls. Sorry to interrupt, Dom. And Barack Obama's coming Saturday, October 29th. I believe Souls to the Polls have a number of actions planned in Milwaukee in those last couple weekends. And if you talk about 3% African-American sample in the polling, well, you'd like to think that's an underrepresentation of perhaps Mandela Barnes' strength. But historically, it hasn't been a high propensity turnout voter in midterms for the Democrats. The former president coming to town, that's got to perhaps change that dynamic.
I think that has to be the hope. I do think we have to be a bit importantly reflective as the Democratic Party about why aren't Black and brown communities feeling more motivated during midterm elections? Like, what is missing? Is the party not speaking to the concerns of Black and brown folks in this country enough? And I think that there has been some evidence of fear, particularly, and it's understandable, I think, for Black candidates like Mr. Barnes, like Lieutenant Governor Barnes. He's so worried about being painted in the precise way that Ron Johnson has painted him, right? That I think there's some self-editing about, let's talk about the issues that are important to Black and brown people in the state of Wisconsin. And most of those happen to be in Milwaukee County, right? So I think it's a big challenge for the party. And I think it's more of a challenge, especially when we have Black and brown candidates, for those folks to figure out, how do I thread this needle, win a statewide election, and yet speak and address issues that are in some ways uniquely important to Black and brown communities in the city of Milwaukee. That is a challenging prospect. I don't think folks have gotten that right yet, but I will say this, Mike. Obama coming to Milwaukee is the exact place that he should be on October 29th. There's no more important place for him to be than in the state of Wisconsin, helping our first Black candidate in the history of Wisconsin run for Senate. Thank you, President Obama.
And you mentioned Lena Taylor earlier, who beat Mandela Barnes in an election. I saw some reporting from her a while back saying, Mandela needs to come to, the Black community. And I think you're right. I think there is that propensity perhaps to overcompensate for the quote unquote the rest of the state. He's out barnstorming, and there's a lot of that. But, the city of Milwaukee has very unique needs, as do the African American community. And yes, I think it's very important for Mandela and all candidates to pay attention to Milwaukee. I mean, we have a lot of things to fix around here, and we need people with an honest effort to do so. We talked about the debate yesterday. Charles Benson, Shannon Sims, the TMJ4 anchors who moderated that debate yesterday. I thought they did a fine job, especially when they didn't crack up based on what Ron Johnson was saying.
And I would point out, it's Daun County that delivers for this state. You know why we're not red? Because Daun County overvotes.
Well, you better do it again, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I think I hear a horn being tooted.
Yes.
Turn out yours.
Toot it.
At the same numbers that we turn out ours.
And it's over. It's over. And hopefully Barack Obama can help with that. But there's no letting up, man. Madison's got to turn out. You got to overperform your last performance, Madison. I'm putting this on you, Crudy. Maggie and I will worry about Milwaukee.
We'll deliver.
Boom.
We'll deliver the state of Wisconsin for Civic Media and our fair audience. Come back. The gubernatorial debate soon. Your calls could be next. 844-96 Political Party.
And my ranking member would always be bringing up white supremacy, which, I condone. What? I mean, I...
Okay, men, time to be an all-star caregiver. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Be there emotionally and physically. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
I've been invited on Fox News. I accepted. We're going to take your favorite ideas for burning it down. Alan from Madison, what do you got for us?
At the end of the show, you should tell them you've got a new logo for Fox News. What you do is stand up, drop your drawers, turn around, and Fox is on one sheet, News is on the other, and below you have We Fill the Void.
You know, I don't know if I got that kind of courage, Alan, but I love how you think, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at theminocquabrewingcompany.com and buy our woke gear, like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's theminocquabrewingcompany.com.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. Time flies when you are having fun. It's been a hell of a week. 844-967-2789 if you want to jump in here in the last segment.
Dominic, the former president, the good one, Barack Obama, coming to Milwaukee October 29th. That broke since we've been on the air. We've had Charles Franklin talking and helping us set up the gubernatorial debate tonight. That's going off in about 10 minutes. We're going to broadcast it live right here on Civic Media. You know, if you're not in a high school football market. But if you miss it tonight, if you're missing it live, A, you can do it on the app, as all the real patriots do. And B, we're going to play it out all weekend long at 1 o'clock Central Time on both Saturday and Sunday. So if you missed the big WBA gubernatorial debate, you don't have to. We'll play it again. 844-967-2789. CJ, you've been so patient. I'm going to leave you waiting just a little longer. Mark from the SAC, you've also been a patient man. Welcome back, Mark. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
Thanks, guys. And hey, Maggie. Yeah, it's remarkable that none of these super patriots seem to take their oath to the Constitution seriously at all. I mean, because to my mind, what I've been saying again and again is the 14th Amendment clearly indicates that these guys who are involved in insurrection have no business being in Congress anymore, or any position of public office, serving in any of the states. I mean, the Constitution is clear on that. I mean, it doesn't require a conviction. And as far as, that Ron Johnson just should be indicted. As all the fake electors should just be indicted. You just say, this is what the law says. You are now indicted. You broke the law. You violated your oath. I mean, he swore an oath to the Constitution.
Mark, appreciate you listening and appreciate your patience. And CJ, we'll probably get to you. Just be a little more patient. But Maggie, Daun, you mentioned before indicting a sitting senator. Does that mean, hypothetically speaking, that if Ron Johnson wins re-election, he is less likely to be indicted? But if he loses, based on predicated on his actual actions, perhaps criminality, conspiracy. I'm not encouraging people to indict him just because. If you're going to do that, do it before the election, just put a nail in his coffin. But here's what I would say. Do you see the outcome of the election affecting whether or not Ron's got to face the charges?
It may not affect if, but it may absolutely affect when. I do think that there is whether subconsciously or otherwise, a higher bar when it comes to some of these sitting elected officials. There's a reason that executive privilege actually exists. It's that phenomena.
Well, I look at Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz got off. How did Matt Gaetz get off?
This is seriously. This was going to be the exact next thing I said, Crudy, and that is Chantia Lewis, an alderperson from the city of Milwaukee, has lost her seat in government, and rightly so. But she was criminally charged. She has been criminally sentenced. What did she do? She used campaign funds for personal purposes. Okay. Shouldn't happen.
Can't do that. Right.
Can't do that.
Right.
It was about like $10,000 worth. Her career over in politics, most likely. Paid a really high price, personally and professionally. This guy, right? Like that should be the name of my next show. This guy, right? This guy tears up the Constitution by word and deed on an almost daily basis, spits in the face of the military and those that serve by doing so, elevates the rights of billionaires to keep their billions, to avoid fair taxation, and scoffs at his senatorial responsibility to bring more jobs to the state of Wisconsin. And this guy still gets supporters. There is clearly a double standard here. And if the rule of law, what I think all of this points to, and this is one of the deep realities that we have to face in this country, is that there is not one system of justice here. There is a system of justice for those who hold the levers of power, those that are rich and privileged, and then there is a different set of laws for poor folks and working class folks and for black and brown folks. You cannot look at these videos of people being killed. You cannot consider all of these disparities that show up everywhere. Same crimes perpetrated by people of different races receiving different sentences. This is just, it's prima facie, it's evidence that this isn't working well. And people still show up and vote for that hypocrite.
Gubernatorial debate, great state of Wisconsin, matter of minutes right here on Civic Media. Our fine guest in studio for a couple of hours is Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. Maggie, here's how I'd like to end your appearance tonight. I'd like you to say one nice thing about either U.S. Senator Ron Johnson or CJ, who's been on hold for an hour and 27 minutes.
So the positive thing about Ron Johnson is really easy. He showed up to debate Mr. Barnes. So thanks for that. Otherwise, you can go kick rocks. As for CJ, I give you a lot of credit, my friend, for showing up on a station and sharing your views, albeit misguided, delusional, and not rooted in reality, with a bunch of folks that you know are going to vehemently disagree with you. I think that takes some courage. And I think that deserves some credit, sir. I think it takes a paycheck. What do you think, CJ?
CJ, welcome. Say hi to Maggie Daun. She said something nice about you.
Hey, CJ.
Hey, buddy.
Well, that is so very kind. Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. And thank you, Maggie. I wonder if President Biden's going to show up and introduce two articulate, clean black men, Mandela Barnes.
Okay, shut that off. Shut that off. You come on a radio station, you get to say what you want to say. You do not get to come on the airs and abuse that privilege that Mike has granted you by implying in any kind of way that any black person is unclean. That is racist. Shame on you, sir.
We've got about 5 minutes and 15 seconds to the debate, the gubernatorial debate, brought to you by Civic Media. CJ held on for an hour and a half just to spout a couple of racist tropes.
And to get his ass handed to him, so aptly so, by our friend, guest, awesome human being, Maggie Daun. Thank you, sister.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Got about 1 minute left in this special extended broadcast. Don't forget, Badgers versus Michigan State Spartans. Go Badgers tomorrow on the Civic Media Network starting at 1. And if you aren't listening to the Badgers, you could listen to the replay of the WBA gubernatorial debate. We're going to play it for you live next, and then we're going to play it live for you on both Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock Central Time across the Civic Media Network. Thank you to our fine guests. They included Charles Franklin and, of course, our favorite, the returning champ, Maggie Daun, right here in the Shaw. She's Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. Most importantly, she's a friend of ours and a better man than CJ. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the gubernatorial debate with Tony Evers and Tim Michaels. And I suspect she has bigger balls, CJ.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Thursday night at 7 p.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Listen right here on 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM, and the
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
And Republican challenger Tim Michaels. Here's WBA President and CEO, Michelle Vetterkind.
Good evening. The Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and its member radio and television stations are pleased to welcome you to this gubernatorial debate. Tonight's event originates from Madison, Wisconsin, at the studios of WISC-TV. We have a team of broadcasters from communities large and small across the state involved in bringing this debate to you. Tonight's debate continues the WBA's long-standing commitment to excellence and public service. The debate is underwritten by the WBA Foundation and supported by a grant from the Wisconsin Association of Independent Colleges and Universities.